Chapter 420. The three figures are blurred. Appeared again, and has returned to the main hall when he came. Inside the hall, Qi Tong and Qi Ling waited respectfully. The two of them were shocked when they saw the scarlet-scaled demon lord, but then lowered their heads and dared not speak more.
See,
Chun Daoxian said, "In the future, the Qingqiu demon nation will be handed over to the three of you, and the first task after you take control of the Qingqiu demon nation is to fully exploit the blood marrow mine, the black crystal mine, and the blood crystal mine." Heard. The demons looked at each other and quickly bowed. "Follow the master's law." "Okay." Chun Daoxian nodded in satisfaction. The mining of blood crystal, is not in a hurry for the time being, because the effect of blood crystal on Chun Daoxian's cultivation of Zhu Rong's real body has been minimal. Chun Daoxian then cultivated Zhu Rong's real body, and the most consumed resources were blood marrow and black crystal. Therefore, these two resources are mined with the highest priority. After listening to Chun Daoxian's orders, Qi Lin's face on the side was a little hesitant, as if there was something unspeakable. Seeing that her demeanor was wrong, Chun Daoxian said calmly, "Qi Lin, do you have any questions?" "Red scales dare not." The scarlet-scaled demon lord hurriedly lowered his head. "It's just that there is only one demon lord left in my Qingqiu demon nation. I'm afraid, what's next?" "You don't have to worry about it. I have my own considerations." "Yes, master." Hearing Chun Daoxian say this, Qi Lin stopped talking immediately. Finish the affairs of the Qingqiu demon nation. Chun Daoxian and Fei Chenxue took the spirit boat and embarked on the road back to Wangxinghai. On the spirit boat, Chun Daoxian and Fei Chenxue sat opposite each other. "I didn't expect that the mighty Qingqiu demon nation was so vulnerable back then. The Qingqiu demon nation, which used to feel extremely powerful, could also be destroyed with a single hand." Hearing Chun Daoxian sigh, Fei Chenxue nodded and said, "The stronger the cultivator is, the more different he will see things. You have this feeling because your cultivation time is short." Speaking of this, Fei Chenxue's eyes were bent into crescent shapes, and she said with a smile, "So I have to say, my husband-in-law is really amazing." For the first time, Chun Daoxian saw the always serious concubine Chenxue showing such a little woman's attitude in front of him, and his mouth became dry for a while. He turned his face, coughed lightly, and changed the subject. "By the way, Shuer, what happened when you said that the sun star in the Xianhuang realm changed from fiction to reality?" See Chun Daoxian deliberately changing the topic. Fei Chenxue smiled even happier. She couldn't help but gently moved her fair and soft toes from under the tea table to the crook of Chun Daoxian's legs, and gently provoked him. At this moment, Chun Daoxian's face suddenly turned red, and his breathing became a little short. Seeing his appearance, concubine Chenxue pursed her lips and smiled. As if nothing had happened, she retracted her little feet as if nothing had happened, and said, "The change of the sun star in the Xianhuang realm from the virtual to the real is the key to breaking through the third layer of the world realm. For the monks on the second floor of the world, it has been possible to separate the yin and yang, so that the turbid air of the created world sinks, the clean air rises, and the world is divided. The key to recreating the vitality of the world is the sun star in the sky." Concubine Chenxue paused. "The sun star is the source of all life energy. It illuminates everything in the world and provides all the energy needed for life. Therefore, a virtual sun star naturally cannot recreate the vitality of the world. Only by turning the sun and star from the virtual to the real can the world be reborn." Hiss! Hearing this, Chun Daoxian couldn't help taking a deep breath. Fei Chenxue said a few words, but Chun Daoxian felt that there was a huge difference between the third layer of the world and the second layer of the world. The first layer of the world and the second layer of the world are only requirements for the understanding of the law. When it comes to the third layer of the world, it is no longer a change in the understanding of the law, but the only sun star in the world, from the virtual to the real. What is a sun star? Chun Daoxian, who had studied physics in his previous life, knew that this was a terrifying celestial body that was constantly undergoing nuclear fusion. Although the current size of the Xianhuang realm cannot accommodate the sun of the previous life, It cannot be compared with the sun star of the Phoenix meteor realm. But no matter what, it is not so simple to condense a sun star from the virtual to the real. Fei Chenxue looked at Chen Daoxian, who frowned and comforted. The third floor of the world realm is not so easy to break through. Many Yuanshan Daijins are stuck on the second floor of the world realm and cannot be deposited, let alone our Yuan Yingzhen. Speaking of this, concubine Chenxue paused, because she suddenly realized that Chen Daoxian was not Yuan Yingzhenjuan, and the other party was actually a late Jindan cultivator. Thinking of this, Fei Chenxue couldn't help but caress her forehead with Bai Nun's little hand. I wanted to comfort the other party but ended up hurting myself, so I stopped talking. Chen Daoxian didn't notice Fei Chenxue's abnormality and said to himself, "Is there no shortcut to condensing the sun star?" All the way to practice so far. Chen Daoxian took too many shortcuts. One of the biggest shortcuts is that the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic in the Sea of Knowledge gives him the ability to store understanding. Relying on this ability, Chen Daoxian's speed of enlightenment is unimaginable for ordinary people. After that, his 2 qi refining cultivation bases were quickly promoted, and he also relied on the 2 treasures of vitality essence and Xingyuan fruit, which was regarded as a shortcut. If it weren't for these 2 treasures, Chen Daoxian might be still in the late stage of foundation building, and he would never have risen to the late stage of Jindan in just a few decades, and he was about to break through to the nascent soul stage. Therefore, Chen Daoxian only asked this question. Originally, he just asked casually, but Fei Chenxue nodded and said, "Of course there is a shortcut." Okay? Chen Daoxian suddenly came to the spirit. "Chen Lang, have you heard of the Golden Crow Fragment?" Golden Crow Fragment? Chen Daoxian frowned, a little unclear. Fei Chenxue explained, "It is rumored that there were 10 sun stars in the fairyland, also known as the 10 Golden Crows. Later, a strong man shot an arrow and blasted 9 of them. These 9 broken Golden Crow fragments were scattered to the endless immortals from then on. The domain has turned into the suns of the main world." "You mean?" Chen Daoxian pointed to the sun above his head. "Is this sun also transformed by the fragments of the Golden Crows?" "Exactly." Fei Chenxue nodded. Chen Daoxian's heart suddenly stirred up stormy waves. Isn't what concubine Chenxue said about the strong shooting the sun the story of the descendants shooting the sun in myths and legends? Just when Chen Daoxian was shocked, Fei Chenxue continued, "Of course, you don't need to count on the Golden Crow fragments of the True Demon Realm and the Phoenix Meteor Realm, Chen Lang. Even if it is the world opened up by the Mahayana True Immortal, it is impossible to refine the Golden Crow fragments of these 2 main worlds. But in Liangjiyuan, there are still many fragments of the Golden Crow left. These Golden Crow fragments are somewhat suitable for Chen Lang's Xianhuang realm refining." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian couldn't react. In the battlefield outside the 2 realms abyss, I don't know how many world realm powerhouses have been killed for hundreds of thousands of years. After these powerhouses who opened up the world die, they will inevitably leave the world they opened up. For countless years, most of these worlds have been desolate, just like the real fairyland that Chen Daoxian once explored. But there are still many world relics. Not only there are a lot of treasures, but also fragments of the Golden Crow left in them. After the Golden Crow fragments were scattered to the endless immortal domain, some Golden Crow fragments formed a master world, and some smaller Golden Crow fragments were scattered in the endless void all the year round. In the ancient years, the true immortals of the True Demon Realm and the Phoenix Meteor Realm searched for these scattered Golden Crow fragments in the endless void in order to strengthen the Sun Star in their own world. This is the origin of the large number of Golden Crow fragments in the battlefield outside the 2 realms abyss. Seeing Chen Daoxian's eager expression, concubine Chenxue warmly dissuaded him. "Chen Lang, you are talented. Even if you don't rely on the Golden Crow fragment, it will be a matter of time before you enter the 3rd floor of the world. Why go to the battlefield outside the territory to take risks? Besides, your current cultivation is only in the late Jindan stage. For you, it is important to raise your cultivation to the nascent soul stage as soon as possible." Hearing this dissuasion, Chen Daoxian pondered for a while, shook his head and said, I also hope to gradually and steadily improve my strength, but the demon court in the real demon world is about to move. By then, if the strength is not enough, then regret it, but it will be too late." Hearing this, Fei Qinxue fell silent. It stands to reason that the Qingqiu demon nation is a remote demon power in the real demon world, but even so, there are envoys from the demon court who come to recruit the Qingqiu demon nation. It can be seen how fast Yaoding moves. Although there are many demon powers in the real demon world, I don't want the demon court to rule the real demon world. However, there are real fairy-level world demons behind the demon court, and these forces of the demon country cannot resist for long in front of the demon court. Be prepared for danger in times of peace, not to mention that the Fengyan world is not so safe now. Originally, the strength of the Phoenix Meteor realm was not comparable to that of the true demon realm. Once the real demon realm was unified, the strength would even crush the Phoenix Meteor realm. At that time, the tragic phenomenon of the human race in the real demon world will inevitably reappear in the Phoenix Meteor world. Thinking of this, Fei Qinxue shuddered. Chunlang is right. It's the concubine's lack of thought, Fei Qinxue said in a low voice. Seeing that concubine Chengshi's mood was a little low, Qin Daoxian gently held the opponent's Rou and said with relief, "This battle is definitely going to be fought. I just hope that before this battle between the two realms completely breaks out, I can make my Qin family harmonious. Xianyuan Jianzong has enough self-protection power. At least. I won't let Yaoding fish and meat." Fei Qinxue raised her head and looked at Qin Daoxuan's crystal-clear eyes. She couldn't help leaning her head gently in his arms. "You mean, can we win?" "Must be able to." Qin Daoxian raised his head, looked at the rising sun outside the spirit boat, and said firmly, "The spirit boat is extremely fast." After passing through the Taizhou Passage, Qin Daoxian and Fei Qinxue did not continue to ride the spirit boat, but chose to use teleportation to hurry. Fei Qinxue was not proficient in the laws of space, so along the way, Qin Daoxian took her to teleport. With Qin Daoxuan's consciousness, he could teleport thousands of miles at most at a time. But he has other ways, and that is to use Michin Banner to teleport. Qin Daoxian used the space node left by Michin Fan and moved several times before returning to Shuanghu Island. Twin Lakes Island. Concubine Qinxue saw Qin Daoxian put away the blue Michin Banner and said with emotion, "This small banner is really convenient. With it, ordinary Yuan Xinjuan may not be able to do anything. No wonder Xinjue Xinren can run so well." Listening to concubine Qinxue talking about immortal Xinjue, Qin Daoxian smiled and said, "You think Mi Chun Fan is convenient now. That's because we, Wan Xinghai, haven't built enough space to teleport. For example, when traveling from Taizhou to Cangzhou, if true monarch nascent soul, who is proficient in the laws of space, can use space teleportation to travel, but the vast majority of monks can only rely on the spirit boat to travel. Taizhou is hundreds of thousands of miles away from Cangzhou, and it would take several months to travel by spirit boat. What if we build a space teleportation array between the two states? Or, if we connect all the states of Wan Xinghai with the space teleportation formation, how strong will our control over Wan Xinghai become?" Hearing this, Fei Qinxue couldn't help but be fascinated. But soon, she shook her head, because this idea was not realistic at all. If all the states in Wan Xinghai are connected by space teleportation formations, how many space teleportation formations must be built? You must know that the Qianyuan sword sect now only has 4 space teleportation formations in total. One of them is in the sect of Qianyuan Jianzong, and the other 3 are all in the territory of Izumo. No way, Izumo is too far away from Wan Xinghai. Without building a large space teleportation formation, it is impossible to control this territory effectively. Even so, Qianyuan Jianzong used the power of the entire sect to build only 3 space teleportation formations. It can be seen how terrifying the consumption of resources is when building a space teleportation formation. Of course, Qin Daoxian understood this. He smiled and said, "Now we have no money, but it will be different soon." When Fei Qinxue heard this, she immediately reacted. If the plan to attack the real demon world was successfully implemented, The result is probably as true as Chen Daoxian said, and soon enough resources will be available to closely connect the entire Wangxinghai with the space teleportation formation. By then, Qianyuan Jianzong and the Chen family's dominance over Wangxinghai will reach an unprecedented peak. Thinking of this, Fei Qinxue, who was originally afraid of attacking the real demon world, could not wait to take control of the 4 major demon kingdoms immediately and then use industrial production to plunder the resources of the real demon world. Seeing Fei Qingshu's impatient appearance, Chen Daoxian knew that she was completely moved. How to firmly control the territory under his command in the hands of the sect has always been a common problem of all sect forces in the Fengyun world. The vast territory made them have to use the power of the Xiuxin family to control the territory under their command. But borrowing the power of the Xiuxin family to control the territory will face the phenomenon that the Xiuxin family's tail cannot be lost, such as the Zhangzhou Qin family. In essence, the Zhangzhou Qin family is a typical tail too big. Fortunately, Fei Qinxue used the marriage of the 2 supreme rulers to eliminate this life-and-death struggle. Although the problem of the Qin family has been solved, the problem that the Xiuxin family may not be able to solve in the future has not been completely ended. If Chen Daoxian learned about Fei Qingshu's thoughts, she would definitely find out that she was actually considering changing the feudal system of divided families into a centralized system with Zhongmen as the core. If this move is successful, it will surely achieve a huge leap forward in the system. Maybe in the future, the sect and the immortal family will disappear, replaced by the immortal kingdom or the immortal dynasty. Seeing Fei Qingshu's excited appearance, Chen Daoxian laughed dumbly and said, "Okay, you said I was impatient, but you are even more impatient than me. Raiders of the real demon world must not be rushed, and the most important thing is not to let the demon garden or other demon kingdom forces find clues." "Well, I see." Fei Qinxue looked at him affectionately. "Then, I will go back to the sect first and arrange for the complete control of the 4 demon kingdoms. Okay, I'll be in charge of industrial expansion." After the 2 finished speaking, they waved goodbye over Shuanghu Island. Both of them knew that now was not the time to be gentle. Although this trip to the real demon world was short, this short time together allowed Chen Daoxian and Fei Qinxue to have a deeper understanding of each other's temperaments. Although he and Fei Qinxue were political marriages, they were different from the political marriages in the mortal kingdom. He and concubine Qinxue are not only the supreme rulers of the Qin family and Qianyuan sword sect, but also possess the terrifying power of the left and right forces. Once the 2 of them are at odds, this political marriage will be a joke. It turned out that both Fei Qinxue and Chen Daoxian were very satisfied with each other. Chapter 4:21. Looking at the beauty who disappeared from the sky. Chen Daoxian couldn't help clenching the storage ring in his hand, and Fei Qingshu's words before leaving seemed to be in his ears. "Chen Lang, these are the only 3 Saint Yuan fruits left in the Qianyuan sword sect. My concubine hopes that when I meet you next time, Chen Lang is already a Yuan in cultivator." Calls. Chen Daoxian breathed a sigh of relief. His figure flashed and disappeared. Twin Lakes Island. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. As Chen Daoxian's cultivation place, the Patriarch's Immortal Mansion has undergone several expansions and renovations, and now it is a huge building complex covering an area of hundreds of thousands of square meters. In the Immortal Mansion, there are many palaces, and the scenery of forest gardens can be seen everywhere. What's more amazing is that in this Immortal Mansion, there are a total of 108 spiritual lakes formed by spiritual eyes embedded in it, reflecting this immortal mansion like a holy place of a fairy. In front of a spirit lake in the Immortal Mansion, a slender and beautiful woman wearing a tulle fairy dress is playing in the Linghu Lake. Suddenly, a figure suddenly appeared in the pavilion beside Linghu Lake. Chen Daoxian looked at the figure in the Linghu Lake and sat down on the stone bench in the pavilion by himself. In Linghu, Luo Li, who was playing in the water, finally sensed something strange. After turning his head to see Chen Daoxian, his beautiful eyes were full of joy. "Chen Lang, you're back." As soon as the words fell, Luo Li jumped up from the spirit lake with a clatter. By the time her figure flew in front of Qin Daoxian, she was already dressed. The clothes Luo Li was wearing were originally a third-order magic weapon fairy clothes. This magic weapon fairy clothes was a defensive magic weapon specially developed for female cultivators by the Qin Family Magic Tool Research Institute. Although its defensive effect is not as good as spirit armor, it is more convenient to wear and has a beautiful appearance. Therefore, this kind of magic weapon fairy clothes is deeply loved by the majority of female cultivators in Wanxinghai. The only downside is that the highest rank of the magic weapon immortal clothes refined by the Qin family is only the third rank lower rank, which seems a bit tasteless to those female cultivators above Jindan. However, Luo Li was only in the Purple House period now, so it was very suitable to wear this kind of magic weapon immortal clothes refined by the Qin family. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him who looked like a water fairy, Qin Daoxian smiled and said, "Well, miss me?" Hearing this, even though Luo Li was already married to Qin Daoxian, he couldn't help but blushed slightly. She didn't speak, just walked forward quickly, hugged Qin Daoxian, buried her head deeply in Qin Daoxian's chest, and felt the other's strong heartbeat. "Liar, I want to tell you something, okay?" Luo Li raised her head and looked at Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian looked at Luo Li's happy and innocent face, but he couldn't say what he said. Luo Li seemed to notice something, let go of the hands holding Qin Daoxian and said softly, "Qin Lang, you and I are one husband and wife. If you have anything to say, just say it." Hearing this, Qin Daoxian finally made up his mind. "Liar, I want to become a Taoist companion with the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect."
"What?"
When Luo Li heard this, her first reaction was not anger, but stunned. Seeing Luo Li's small mouth opening slightly with an unbelievable look on his face, Qin Daoxian said solemnly, "If you want to scold, scold me." "Who knows?" Luo Li tilted her head and said, "Why does the concubine scold you?" Luo Li's words caught Qin Daoxian a little off guard. According to common sense, when a woman hears that her other half is looking for a new love, shouldn't she jump in a hurry? Why is Luo Li's expression so calm? Just when Qin Daoxian was extremely puzzled, Luo Li said softly, "My concubine has long known that, given the current situation in Wanxinghai, the marriage between the Qin family and Qianyuan sword sect is inevitable, but the concubine did not expect that the marriage with Qin Lang would be unexpected. Not Fairy Qi Yao, but the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect." Speaking of this, Luo Li still had an unreal feeling. But thinking about it carefully, whether it is strength or status, my husband can be worthy of the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect, so I am not surprised for long. "Liar, aren't you angry?" Qin Daoxian couldn't hold back. This was not the same as Luo Li's reaction in his imagination. Luo Li caressed Qin Daoxian's cheek and said warmly as a woman, "Of course you will be angry when you hear that your husband is going to marry another woman. But as the wife of the patriarch of the Qin family, in addition to considering my own feelings, I also need to consider the thousands of cultivators in the Qin family and the larger number of ordinary people." She paused. Today's Wanxinghai, the Qin family and Qianyuan sword sect are the most powerful. Once the Qin family and Qianyuan sword sect are at odds, a war will inevitably break out between the two. "Are you worried that I will lose?" Luo Li shook his head. Qin Lang has never lost, and his concubine doesn't believe that anyone in this world can defeat her husband, but the Qin family is different. Compared with the large number of disciples of the Qianyuan sword sect, the strength of the Qin family cultivator is still relatively high. Too weak. Except for the husband, the Qin family cannot compete with Qianyuan Jianzong in terms of comprehensive strength. If the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong really had a conflict, how many casualties would my Qin family cultivator have? As the wife of the head of the Qin family, I really couldn't bear to see this scene. After hearing these words, Qin Daoxian seemed to know Luo Li on the first day. He stroked Luo Li's hair and said with emotion, "Liar, you've changed. Everyone can change." Luo Li looked at Qin Daoxian, put her small hand gently on Qin Daoxian's waist, and twisted it hard, but the concubine's love for her husband has never changed. Saying that, A pair of beautiful eyes curved into a crescent moon. In order to cooperate with Luo Li, Chen Daoxian deliberately bared his teeth and looked like he was in pain. Luo Li twisted for a while and saw Chen Daoxian begging for mercy, and then she was satisfied and put away her jade hand. Chen Daoxian looked at her quietly. Luo Li said angrily, "Why are you looking at me like this?" "Nothing," Chen Daoxian smiled. "By the way, I have to retreat for a while to break through the nascent soul period." "Real?" Luo Likio's face was full of joy. "My concubine is here to wish my husband a successful baby marriage." Having said that, he gave Chen Daoxian a blessing. "Lend your auspicious words." Chen Daoxian smiled. Then, he took Luo Li into his arms and whispered in her ear, "Liar, I'm sorry."
"Say it."
Chen Daoxian's figure disappeared in front of Luo Li inside the gazebo. Luo Li stood there alone, tears streaming down her face. Chen Daoxian should have removed a stone from his heart when he explained the matter of marrying concubine Chen Shui to Luo Li, but in fact, his mood was not at all relaxed. Especially when he saw the scene where Luo Li burst into tears. Quiet indoors. Chen Daoxian sat on the Wenyu futon, and a Taoist heart could not calm down for a long time. After so many years of cultivation, this is the first time for him. Although Luo Li showed great generosity in front of him, Chen Daoxian knew in his heart that he still made Luo Li sad after all. But marrying Qianyuan Jianzong is the best choice for both the Qin family and Chen Daoxian himself. Otherwise, just like Luo Li's analysis, one mountain can't hold two tigers, and there will be a battle between the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong. Only when the supreme rulers of the two families marry can the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong be completely united. However, the only person who was hurt by this move was Luo Li. She wants to share her husband with other women. Even though Fengyan realm was different from Chen Daoxian's previous life, it practiced polygamy, and it was only natural for the strong to have as many partners as possible. But the world is different, but human nature is the same. No woman will share her other half with another woman unless she doesn't love her other half. Lori is the same. Quiet indoors. Chen Daoxian sat for 3 days, but he could not calm down. In desperation, Chen Daoxian began to recite the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. Over and over again, Chen Daoxian didn't know how many times he recited the scriptures, and finally calmed the turbulent Dao heart. "Open your eyes again." Chen Daoxian's eyes have become clear. He immediately took out a storage ring and took out 3 jade boxes from the storage ring. The 3 jade boxes contained the famous Xingyuan fruit. Chen Daoxian had already taken one of the treasures of Xingyuan fruit before. He opened the first jade box, and it turned out to be the same as the Xingyuan fruit he had taken before. This Xingyuan fruit was 30 years old, and the peel was blue. This treasure can quickly improve the cultivator's qi cultivation. Like this cyan holy fruit in his hand, it has the best effect on the Jindan cultivator. Immediately, Chen Daoxian opened the second jade box, but when he saw the second Xingyuan fruit, his face suddenly changed. Red. Chen Daoxian was shocked. It was not the cyan Xingyuan fruit of 30 years, but the red Xingyuan fruit of 300 years. There are 3 kinds of Xingyuan fruit: 30 years, 300 years, and 3,000 years. This 300-year-old red Saint Yuan fruit is a treasure that can quickly improve the cultivation of yuan in cultivators. Chen Daoxian did not expect that concubine Chen Shui would actually hand over all such treasures to him. It can be seen that Fei Chen Shui regarded Chen Daoxian as her husband from the bottom of her heart. Otherwise, it would never be possible to give this treasure to him. Even if Fei Chen Shui couldn't use it, wouldn't the disciples of her Qianyuan sword sect use it? Moreover, although Fei Chen Shui is the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect, she is not alone in Qianyuan sword sect. Fei Chen Shui took out such a precious treasure from the sect and handed it over to Chen Daoxian, thinking that she had to pay a small price. Chen Daoxian knew this. The value of this red holy essence fruit is completely different from the blue holy essence fruit. In the past, the Qianyuan sword sect raised its sect to help Liang Jiyuan, and among all the treasures obtained, this red Xingyuan fruit may be among the best. Chun Daoxian knew that Fei Chen Shui was able to take out this treasure for him, except that the two were about to marry, and she wanted to deepen their relationship. There is another important reason, that is, the past few days of going to the real demon world, the other party already has his shadow in his heart. It is the most difficult to endure the grace of a beauty, and Chen Daoxian finally has this feeling now. They all talk about the blessings of the people of Qi, but when two women are really attracted to you, this kind of blessing may not be so easy to enjoy. Shaking his head, he threw the distracting thoughts out of his mind. Chun Daoxian opened the third jade box again. This jade box is the same as the first jade box, and it contains a cyan xingyuan fruit, 2 cyan xingyuan fruit, and 1 red xingyuan fruit. If he takes all of them, it will not only allow Chen Daoxian to break through the nascent soul period, but also make his cultivation take a big step in the nascent soul period. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian took out another jade bottle. What this jade bottle contains is not something else. It is the 4th order elixir that assists in breaking through the nascent soul stage, the pregnancy and infant pill. Soothe the mood again. Chun Daoxian immediately took a blue Saint Yuan fruit. The blue-colored Xingyuan fruit melts in the mouth. Chun Daoxian has the experience of taking the Xingyuan fruit once. He knows that there will be a lot of special spiritual energy that will burst out of the Xingyuan fruit. It was exactly as he expected. A terrifying spiritual energy gushes out from the Saint Yuan fruit. As soon as these special auras pour into Dantian, they are transformed into golden core mana and stored in Dantian. With the continuous influx of special spiritual energy, the accumulation of Jindan mana is also getting faster and faster. Before he knew it, Chen Daoxian's cultivation level had broken through from the 8th level of the golden core to the 9th level of the golden core. Although he only broke through the 1st level of cultivation, and the improvement of Chen Daoxian's strength was not obvious, it made him one step closer to the nascent soul stage. After breaking through the 1st level of cultivation, the spiritual energy in the cyan Shenyuan fruit is far from exhausted. Chen Daoxian's cultivation continued to climb. Soon his cultivation level climbed to the pinnacle of the 9th level of the golden core, and finally, he rushed directly to the 9th level of the golden core. At this point, the spiritual energy of the cyan Shenyuan fruit has not been exhausted. You must know that last time he took a holy essence fruit, but he directly upgraded his cultivation from the early stage of Jindan to the later stage of Jindan. Compared with this terrifying improvement effect, where is this now? Chen Daoxian knew that the opportunity could not be missed, and he took the pregnant baby pill, ready to hit the nascent soul realm in one go. Chen Daoxian's Dao realm has far exceeded his cultivation base, and with the help of the cyan Shenyuan fruit and the pregnant baby pill, if he can't break through the nascent soul stage, then I am afraid that no one in this world can break through the nascent soul stage. Take it with pregnant and infant pills. Chen Daoxian found that the golden pill in his Zifu was beating slowly, like a heart.
Boom, boom, boom.
With the strong and powerful beating of the golden core, the magic power of the golden core was continuously swallowed by Chen Daoxian's golden core. Chen Daoxian found that with every time his Jindan exhaled mana, his Jindan mana became more pure. It stands to reason that Chen Daoxian's cultivation has reached the realm of Jindan great perfection, and his Jindan mana will not continue to rise, but the fact is that his Jindan mana is still rising. Chen Daoxian, who is familiar with the classics, knows that this is a sign that the mana is about to break the bottleneck. In the process of Jindan cultivator breaking through the nascent soul stage, the first thing that began to transform was still mana. As for nascent soul, it was the last step to break out of the golden core. The duration of this process varies according to the individual situation of the monk. But there is a saying that the more mana a cultivator can hold in his dantian, the higher his height will be after he breaks through the nascent soul stage. You must know that the height of the nascent soul is directly related to the cultivation of the monks in the nascent soul period. That is to say, if the dantian of the Jindan cultivator can hold enough mana, the cultivator might not be able to directly rise to the 2nd or even the 3rd floor of the nascent soul after breaking through the nascent soul stage. Of course, this is extremely rare. Even if it happens occasionally, it is all the result of the accumulation of cultivator Jindan. At this point, in fact, Chen Daoxian does not have much advantage. The mana stored in his dantian is actually not much compared to ordinary Jindan cultivators. The reason why Chen Daoxian showed infinite mana outside was the help of the magic weapon of creating a white lotus. Chapter 4:22. Twin Lakes Island. An escaped light from far to near landed in the Patriarch's immortal mansion. In front of a spirit lake, Chen Daoxian lowered her escape light, looked at Luo Li in a daze in the pavilion, stepped forward quickly, and said with a smile, "What are you thinking about, sister?" "What?" Luo Li was startled. When she saw Chen Daoxian, she forced a smile on her face, shook her head, and said, "It's nothing. Why did my sister come to me today?" Chen Daoxian thought that Luo Li was in a low mood because the Patriarch had been away from home for a long time. The beginning of the Tao. Luo Li was stunned for a moment, then looked behind Chen Daoxian. "Did he not come?" Chen Daoxian waved her hand and said in a relaxed tone, "He's busy now. I'm afraid he doesn't have time to run around. No, let me be his errand." Because Chen Daoxian often retreats, or is not in the clan, Chen Daoxian and Luo Li have been together for many years, and they have a deep relationship for a long time. In addition, the relationship between Chen Daoxian and Luo Li became closer after Jiang Taiyuan, the ancestor of the Jiang family, abducted the old patriarch Chen Xianhe, so they talked very casually. In the eyes of outsiders, the relationship between the two of her is not like a sister-in-law, but more like a sister. "It's a bit unfortunate that my sister came today. Chen Lang is in retreat." "Shut up again?" Chen Daoxian frowned, although she had long been used to Chen Daoxian being a cultivator, but when she learned that Chen Daoxian had just returned to the family, she couldn't wait to retreat, and she still felt a little sympathetic to Luo Li. Her clan brother is too incomprehensible. Every time I go out and come back, I almost never accompany Luo Li but turn around and go to retreat. No wonder Luo Li's expression was very low. "Sister, don't be angry. The Patriarch is just focusing on his practice." Hearing this, Luo Li gently took Chen Daoxian's hand and said warmly, "You don't need to say it, sister. I know that. I'm not blaming Chen Lang. The Chen family is such a big family. It seems that the scenery is infinite, but all the safety is tied to Chen Lang alone, and I know how much responsibility he bears." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian sighed. "My sister is so profound and righteous. It is the blessing of the Patriarch and the blessing of the Chen family." "You?" Luo Li scratched Chen Daoxian's nose. The two laughed for a while. Luo Li continued, "Actually, this time, Lang Chen was not in an ordinary retreat. He told me before the retreat that he was going to have a baby."
What?
Hearing this news, Chen Daoxian jumped up from the stone bench in the pavilion with excitement. Her breathing couldn't help becoming rapid, and she said, "Is this true?" Luo Li smiled and looked at Chen Daoxian without saying a word. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian couldn't hold back at all, and hurriedly paced in the pavilion. Alas, for such a big matter, the Patriarch actually made a decision so lightly. From Chen Daoxian's point of view, Chen Daoxian breaking through the nascent soul period is the top priority of the Chen family. The entire Chen family should pay attention and mobilize as never before. But in Chen Daoxian's eyes, it seems that breaking through the nascent soul stage is no big deal.
If you think about it, it does.
Chen Daoxian's Dao realm has long reached the second level of the world realm. You must know that many Yuan Chen Daoxians have only reached the second level of the world realm. Chen Daoxian's Dao realm has long been incompatible with his cultivation. Unfortunately, Chen Daoxian's Dao realm has improved too fast, even though he has been practicing hard all these years, and even used several treasures that have been quickly promoted to cheer refining cultivation. But his cultivation still can't keep up with his own Dao realm. However, there are some advantages in this way. That is, Chen Daoxian's combat power far exceeds his cultivation. In addition, there is another advantage, that is, there are no barriers to breaking through the cultivation base. Unlike other monks, breaking through from the Jindan stage to the nascent soul stage is all trepidation. Chen Daoxian had no such worries. The Dao realm on the second floor of the world realm gave him endless confidence. Inside the gazebo, Luoli looked at Chen Dalian, who had always been calm and anxious, and hurriedly said something to comfort him. Sister, don't worry. I see the expression on Chen Lang's face before retreating, so I should be absolutely sure. Besides, in all these years, which time has he let us down? Sure enough, hearing this, Chen Daolian's mood suddenly calmed down. Sister is right, it's my sister that am too anxious. Saying that, he sat down in front of Luo Li again. Seeing Chen Daolian's mood recovering, Luo Li hesitated. Sister, you and I are like sisters, just say something. Chen Dalian saw the hesitant look on Luo Li's face, grabbed the opponent's jade hand gently, and said softly, Then,
Go set it. Okay.
Chen Dalian nodded. Sister Daolian, what do you think of the Qin family and Qianyan Jianzong? Hearing this, Chen Dalian couldn't help frowning. If you want to say, who is the most powerful force in Wan Xinghai after recovering from the Cloud Kingdom, there is no doubt that it must be the Qianyan sword sect. Besides Qianyuan Jianzong, Wan Xinghai's second largest force is her Zhangzhou Qin family. No one doubts this. Chen Daoxian, alone, broke into the Jiang family's land in Taizhou and killed the ancestors of the Jiang family. In addition, Chen Daoxian and Qin Zhan joined forces to raid the Qingwei Taoist sect and the Tai Shinshui. Let Chen Daoxian become more and more famous in Wan Xinghai. The entire Wang Xinghai true monarch Yuaning is being passed on in private, and with Chen Daoxuan's strength, he may be ranked among the top 3 in the entire Wang Xinghai. This rating is quite high. Moreover, characters like Chen Daoxian have never appeared since Qianyuan Jianzong ruled Wan Xinghai. Although over thousands of years, Wan Xinghai has given birth to hundreds of Yuanying true monarchs who are not from the Qianyuan sword sect, but none of them can possess such terrifying strength as Chen Daoxian. This resulted in the breaking of the dominance of the Qianyuan sword sect in the Wan Xinghai family. As we all know, no matter for any region, the breaking of the pattern often means the arrival of war. The reason is very simple. The inherent pattern is accompanied by the inherent distribution of interests. If the long-standing pattern is broken, new disputes of interests will inevitably arise, and war will follow. After all, there is no power that can willingly hand over the interests in their hands to others. Such a simple truth, Chen Dalian, as the acting patriarch, couldn't be more clear. Seeing that Chen Dalian was silent, Luo Li sighed. You also think that there is a risk of war between the Qin family and Qianyuan sword sect, right? After a while, Chen Dalian nodded. It is true, but my Qin family has a patriarch. Even if it is Qianyuan Jianzong, my Qin family is not afraid of it. When it comes to Chen Daoxian, Chen Daolian's words have infinite confidence. In fact, for any cultivator of the Qin family, they look at Chen Daoxian the same way. In the eyes of all the Qin family cultivators, Chen Daoxian is a godlike existence. Even if the Qin family and Yuan Chen Daojun, or even Du Jie Tianzuan are enemies, the Qin family believes that the patriarch can create miracles. This is the prestige Chen Daoxian has built up in the Qin family over the years. Luo Li looked at Chen Daolian's confident look and smiled. That said, but the Qianyuan sword sect really broke out with the Qin family, and how many children of the Qin family have to be damaged? Hearing this, Chen Dalian stopped talking. Indeed, no matter how strong Chen Daoxian is, he is not strong enough to compete with the entire Qianyuan sword sect by himself. If the Qin family really broke out with the Qianyuan sword sect, in addition to uniting all the immortal families, they would definitely implement the strategy of temporarily retreating in the early stage. In other words, it is to break into pieces and fight guerrilla warfare with Qianyuan Jianzong. Even if the Qin family can win in the end, the clan may not survive. In this situation, Chen Dalian, as the acting patriarch of the Qin family, definitely does not want to see it. So in thinking, if the Qin family can marry Qianyuan Jianzong, will this war be eliminated? Marriage? Chen Dalian frowned, and then she shook her head again. With the size of the Qin family and the Qianyuan sword sect, who can get married to ease the conflict between the two families? It's not like the patriarch should marry the Qianyuan sword sect master. Speaking of this, Chen Dalian couldn't help but smile bitterly. Why not? Luo Li said softly. Sister, you mean for a time, Chen Daolian's heart was beating like thunder. If the Qin family could really marry concubine Qin Shue, then the dispute between the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong would disappear in an instant. Not only that, but with the talent of the patriarch. The Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong formed an alliance, which will inevitably be dominated by the patriarch in the future. Chen Daolian never doubted this. What does Qin Daoxian lack the most?
Time.
It has only taken him less than 100 years to cultivate so far. In less than 100 years, he has achieved achievements that other monks may not have achieved in thousands of years. It can be said that with Chen Daoxian's talent, even if he tried several times in the entire Phoenix meteor realm, he could not find a second one. Once the Qin family unites with Qianyuan Jianzong to form a force similar to the Xianqing Taoist alliance, is it still a sure thing that Chen Daoxian will be the leader of this force in the future? Thinking of this, Chen Daolian couldn't help but think of the two alliances in her mind. How should she place the children of the Qin family in this alliance to achieve the purpose of controlling the actual power of this alliance? Luo Li watched Chen Daolian's expression change and sat there quietly without speaking. A long time. Realizing that the atmosphere in the pavilion was a little quiet, Chen Daolian realized that the patriarch married the sect master of Qianyuan Jianzong, and the one who suffered the most was not the one in front of him. Thinking of this, Chen Daolian couldn't help admiring Luo Li's mind. Ask yourself, if Chen Daoxian is her husband, can she make such a decision? After thinking about it for a long time, Chen Daolian shook her head. I'm afraid. She can't be as generous as Luo Li, elder sister. Chen Daolian called out softly. Luo Li smiled, and then changed the conversation. By the way, you said that you asked you to come to Qinlang in the first place. Why? Seeing that Luo Li changed the subject, Chen Daolian sighed in his heart, but said, it's because of the Magic Tool Machine Tool. The Magic Tool Research Institute has already finalized the first-order Magic Tool Machine Tool. Chen Daochu was organizing people from the Magical Item Research Institute to transform the Magical Item Factory in Guanhai Xiancheng. Before I came here, the first phase renovation project of the Magical Item Factory had ended. So fast. A look of joy appeared on Luo Likio's face. The fact that the Chen family's Magic Tool Research Institute developed the Magic Tool Machine Tool is a top secret of the Chen family, but Luo Li, as the wife of the patriarch, naturally has the right to know this secret. As far as Luo Li knew, it had only been more than a year since the machine tool was developed, and now even the factory has been renovated. This speed is too fast. The Chen family seems to be influenced by Chen Daoxian, the powerful patriarch, and they pay great attention to efficiency in everything they do. If it wasn't for the Chen family's children who really didn't have the perverted talent of Chen Daoxian, maybe everyone's cultivation speed would be on par with Chen Daoxian. This is a strong leadership core, a positive influence on a force. It's not too fast. It's been more than a year since Chen Daochu developed the machine tool. It took so long to complete the transformation of the first phase of the magic weapon factory, which is too slow for me. Luo Li shook his head. This is something that can't be helped. There were so many first-order refiners in the previous magic tool factory, but with the emergence of new magic tools, these first-order tool refiners will probably lose their jobs. Presumably, for more than a year, you have been busy arranging these people? Hearing this, Chen Daolian sighed. Yes. The emergence of the Qin family's assembly line production line once made Songzhous desolate, and impoverished scattered cultivators find a job that allows them to earn enough cultivation resources. But with the advent of the machine tool, their job was smashed by the Qin family. Despite the power of the Qin family, no one dared to say anything. But Luo Li's inner disappointment and anger could not be hard to imagine. After all, when she followed the Merman clan, the days when she wandered in the underwater world of Wangxinghai had some similarities with these scattered cultivators in Songzhou, and everyone lived a precarious life. Even a cultivator yearns to practice peacefully in his heart. Like those loose cultivators who are afraid that the world will not be in chaos, they are very few after all. Moreover, these robbery and homeless cultivators are also lacking in resources, so they were forced to come this way. If there are enough cultivation resources, any loose cultivator's brain will be crowded by the door, and they will do these extremely risky things. When it comes to the scattered repairs in Guanhai Xiancheng, Chen Daolian and Luo Li felt a little down for a while. Influenced by Chen Daoxian, both Chen Daolian and Luo Li treat those loose cultivators at the bottom of the cultivation world with a kind heart. Unlike other cultivators of the immortal Cultivation clan, their gazes upon loose cultivators were all filled with disdain and contempt. This point, the loose cultivator of Guanhai Xiancheng can also feel that the cultivator of the Chen family is very different from the cultivator of other cultivator families. Speaking of which, in Wanxinghai, the only two forces who can treat loose cultivators with this attitude are the Qianyuan sword sect and the Chen family. As for other forces, even true monarch Yuanchen, who came from a loose cultivator, could not treat the loose cultivator with such a generous and peaceful attitude. Quiet indoors. A white figure sat on the Wenyu futon. At this moment, in Chen Daoxuan's closed room, a violent beating sound echoed in the room.
Boom. Boom.
Boom. As time passed, it seemed as if the heart beat faster and faster. In Dantian, the golden core continued to expand, and then clustered and shrunk again and again. Time passed little by little. Blink of an eye. Half a year has passed.
Boom.
On this day, Chen Daoxuan's Dantian exploded. I saw a figure like a baby, as if a life emerged from the shell, drilled out of the broken golden core. With the Yuanying drilled out from the Jindan, the broken golden core quickly merged into Yuanying's body. Chen Daoxian saw that each piece of Jindan was integrated into Yuanying, and Yuanying's height increased by 1 point. In the end, Chen Daoxuan's nascent soul grew from 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and then it slowly stopped. Looking at Yuanying in his Dantian, Chen Daoxian found that this Yuanying's face was exactly the same as his. Is this the Yuanying? Chen Daoxuan's consciousness sank, and he found that his consciousness actually appeared in Yuanying. Afterwards, he looked at his own Dantian Qi Si. This was the first time for him to look at Dantian Qi Si and Zifu from the perspective of nascent soul. This feeling is very special. It was as if his Dantian purple mansion was an immortal mansion standing on the sea of mana. And his nascent soul, who usually lives in the purple mansion in Dantian, can easily control the sea of mana below. Break through to the nascent soul period. Chen Daoxuan's first feeling was that he was strong. This kind of power is different from the power brought by the Dao realm and various instruments in the previous Jindan period. This is a kind of pure power of its own. Besides, Chen Daoxian also felt that his lifespan had skyrocketed, reaching 3,000 years of lifespan just like other Yuanying true monarchs. As for other aspects, Chen Daoxian has not had time to feel it yet, because he knew that the people outside the secret room had been waiting for him for a long time. 7,017K. Chapter 4:23. Boom. With the opening of the stone door and the formation of the closed room, a group of familiar figures came into Chen Daoxuan's eyes.
Daoxian.
Chen Lang, Patriarch. Quiet outside. Chen Xianhe, Luo Li, Chen Daolian, Chen Daochu, Chen Fuxing all stood not far away with surprise in their eyes. Chen Daoxuan's eyes swept across everyone. Uncle 13, liar. In front of Chen Daoxuan, he first said hello to the 13th uncle Chen Xianhe, then nodded to Luo Li and finally looked at the eager-eyed Chen clan. Daoxian, you have your defense? Chen Xian's cultivation was only at the foundation stage, and he could not see any change in Chen Daoxuan's cultivation. In fact, not only Chen Xianhe, but the Chen clan members present, even Chen Fuxing, who had the highest cultivation base, had only reached the late stage of Zifu, and they could not see the change in Chen Daoxuan's cultivation base. Everyone just felt that Chen Daoxuan's breath was very different from before, but they couldn't see the other party's cultivation. Looking at the eager eyes of everyone, Chen Daoxian nodded and smiled. Success. It really worked. Chen Daochu stepped forward excitedly. So, my Chen family is also the Yuanying family? You boy. Chen Daoxian shook his head with a smile. Yes, from now on, my Chen family will be a veritable Yuanying family. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, The Qin clan members present could no longer restrain their excitement, and they all burst into laughter. Because they know that only the stronger the patriarch's strength, the more stable the Qin family's position will be. People of insight in the Qin family can see that since the Qianyuan sword sect recovered from the Yun kingdom, the Qin family's position is somewhat dangerous. Because of the strength of the Qin family, the dominance of Qianyuan Jianzong in Wangxinghai has been threatened. However, apart from Qin Daoxian, the Qin family couldn't come up with a second person who could suppress the ethnic movement. Even Qin Fuxing, the leader of the Zifu Tianjiao list, who is now known as Wangxinghai, is still far behind the patriarch Qin Daoxian. In the eyes of the real powerhouses of Wangxinghai, those who can make Qianyuan Jianzong take a fancy to at least have the strength of the top true monarch. Ordinary Yuanying monks are not in the eyes of Qianyuan Jianzong. After all, in the battle with Xianqing Dao League, Qianyuan Jianzong dispatched hundreds of Yuanying Zhenjuan, ordinary Yuanying monks. In the eyes of Qianyuan Jianzong, it really is nothing. Quiet outside. The crowd laughed for a while and regained their composure. Chen Dalian took a step forward and said with a smile, "Patriarch, you succeeded in conceiving a baby. Do you need to hold a nascent soul ceremony to inform Wangxinghai?" Normally, when a monk breaks through to the nascent soul stage, he must hold a nascent soul celebration. First, it is an opportunity to show strength to the outside world. Second, it is also a chance to make money. After all, the cultivators who came to participate in the nascent soul celebration must have a high status. The gifts given by these people add up to a large sum of money. Of course, for the Qin family, making money is nothing. With the wealth accumulated by the Qin family, I can't despise this small wealth. As for showing strength to the outside world, Qin Dalian must ask Qin Daoxian for instructions. After all, as the acting patriarch of the Qin family, she vaguely knew the embarrassing status of the Qin family and rashly showed her strength to the outside world, which might cause misunderstandings from Qianyuan Jianzong. Qin Daoxian could see Qin Daolian's concerns at a glance. He smiled and said, "The nascent soul celebration is unnecessary, but today, the core children of my Qin family are all there, and I do have something to announce." Hearing this, everyone was in awe. Qin Daoxian continued, "The Qin family will form a new alliance with Qianyuan Jianzong. Not only that, but I also want to marry the concubine Qin Shui." "What? Patriarch, do you want to become a Taoist partner with the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect?" Qin Daoxian's words were like a thunderbolt on the ground, and they blew everyone dumbfounded. If this sentence is said by outsiders, they will only think that the other party has hysteria and is a little confused. But this was announced by their godlike patriarch himself. In other words, their patriarch, Qin Daoxian, really wanted to become a Taoist companion with Qin Shui, the concubine of the Qianyuan sword sect. Originally guessed by the senior officials of the Qin family, the worry that the Qin family might fight against Qianyuan Jianzong disappeared completely. The patriarch of the Qin family is about to marry the suzerain of the Qianyuan sword sect, and the two families are about to become a family. So what else is there to fight? Although concubine Chengshi's status in Qianyuan sword sect compared with Qin Daoxian's status in the Qin family, there is still a gap. But since Fei Qinshui completely eradicated Yi Yin's lineage, he has firmly controlled the power of Qianyuan Jianzong. If the two really combine, the Qin family and the Qianyuan Jianzong alliance are definitely not false. Qin Dalian had been hinted by Luo Li before, but she was not very surprised. Qin Daochu was very nervous. He was the first to react and said quickly, "Patriarch, so, isn't my Qin family going to become the ruler of Wangxinghai and Izumo? The exact division of power is still up for debate, but my Qin family will indeed become the new ruler of Wangxinghai." Qin Daoxian nodded, believing Qin Daochu's statement. As for Qin Xianhe on the side, he just felt dizzy. He never thought that the Qianyuan sword sect, which used to be like a moat to him, would be mastered by the Qin family. Qin Xianhe is not stupid. He can see that since the Qianyuan sword sect master agreed to marry Qin Daoxian, it means that the other party is willing to share the ruling authority of Wangxinghai and Izumo with the Qin family. Since the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong formed an alliance, there must be an alliance leader. In all likelihood, his nephew Qin Daoxian held this position.
What is a step to the sky?
This is. Originally, with the strength of the Qin family, it would take hundreds of years to develop to the scale of the Qianyuan sword sect, even with the support of Qin Daoxian and the strong industrial strength of the Qin family. But now, directly saving hundreds of years of development, Wan Xinghai's authority is within easy reach of the Qin family. The patriarch broke through to the Yuanying period and was about to marry his concubine Qin Shui. The Qin family was about to form an alliance with Qianyuan Jianzong. This was a double happiness for the Qin clan present. Just when everyone was excited, Qin Daoxian coughed, interrupting the excited clan, and instructed, "Although I have already discussed the matter with the Qianyuan sword sect alliance, the concubine sect master and I have already discussed it, but everyone must be prepared to deal with some opposition." At this time, Chen Fuxing stood up and cupped his hands. "Don't worry, Patriarch. If anyone in Wan Xinghai dares to talk nonsense about this matter, my Qin family will not forgive me lightly." Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Fuxing, who had broken through to the late stage of Zifu, and nodded. Chatted with the crowd again. Seeing that Qin Daoxian looked a little tired, everyone said goodbye. Watching everyone leave, Qin Daoxian walked with Luo Li in the immortal mansion. Although the two were walking, Qin Daoxian's thoughts drifted to somewhere. Qin Fuxing was already the most cultivated among the Qin family's many cultivators, but he had only reached the late period of Zifu. Even if Qin Fuxing's strength is comparable to that of ordinary Jindan cultivators by virtue of the Qin family's power spirit armor and other magical weapons, compared with the power of Qianyuan Jianzong, the strength of the rest of the Qin family is still too weak. Now that the Qin family wants to form an alliance with the Qianyuan sword sect, they will inevitably face the division of power within the alliance. In the world of immortality, strength is always the reference standard for division of power. Even if Qin Daoxian became the leader of this new alliance, he would not be able to abruptly promote a cultivator of the Qin family's Zifu to serve as the immediate boss of a Qianyuan Jianzong Jindanjinren. This will inevitably lead to the instability of the governing structure of the alliance. Qin Daoxian now also faintly sees that Fei Qinxue agrees with the Qin family and the Qianyuan sword sect alliance, and in all likelihood has this kind of mind. Everything in the Qin family is pinned on him. However, the rest of the Qin family are not strong. Even if the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong form an alliance, the ordinary members of the Qin family can only become the middle and lower ranks of this new alliance at most. The high-level position of the alliance is bound to be occupied by the Yuanying true monarchs of Qianyuan Jianzong. And facing this situation, Qin Daoxian had nothing to say. In addition, with a population base of Qianyuan Jianzong far exceeding that of the Qin family, the alliance between the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong will only be merged by Qianyuan Jianzong. In this way, Qianyuan Jianzong not only solved the Qin family's confidence troubles without blood, but also obtained Qin Daoxian, a gifted evildoer. Kill two birds with one stone. Concubine Chengshi's move is a naked conspiracy. Even if Qin Daoxian saw it, he had to agree. Because they did not agree, Qianyuan Jianzong and the Qin family would have a fight. Although Qin Daoxian believed that the Qin family would not lose, what he said would not be lost was only because he himself would not lose. As for the rest of the Qin family, I am afraid that no one can survive the offensive of the Qianyuan sword sect. This is also one of the fundamental reasons why Qin Daoxian finally agreed to concubine Qinxue. As for cooperation with Yi Yin, Qin Daoxian did not think about it, but it was more troublesome in practice. Yi Yin is just a representative of many immortal clans in Wan Xinghai. Once the Qin family joins Yi Yin's family, they will face more open and secret battles. How many immortal families are there in Wan Xinghai? Countless. Even the Guangyuanying family has more than a dozen families. With so many immortal cultivating families, even if the Qin family is the best in strength, how can they unite them? In addition, Qin Daoxian did not agree with the Xiuxian family represented by Yi Yin from the bottom of his heart, and naturally, he would not choose to cooperate with them. At this moment, Qin Daoxian understood that the alliance between the Qin family and Qianyuan sword sect was only the first step. The second step is to support the children of the Qin family and occupy the highest position in this alliance as much as possible, at least to be able to compete with the original faction of Qianyuan Jianzong concubine Snow. Thinking of her, Chen Daoxuan's feelings are very complicated. Because the other party, like him, did not want the Qin family to go to war with Qianyuan Jianzong and did not want to see the living beings of Wan Xinghai go to pieces. Fei Chengshi's strength is not only in her strength, but her wrist is the strongest among the women Qin Daoxian has ever seen. Even Qin Dalian, who has been the acting patriarch of the Qin family for many years, is very immature compared to him. Qin Dalian may be quite strong in handling internal affairs, but when it comes to long-term vision and political skills, he is still far behind Fei Chenxua. As for cultivation talent and strength, Qin Dalian didn't know how much worse than Fei Chenxua. No wonder, Fei Chenxua was not worried about Chen Daoxuan's companion, Luo Li. Perhaps in her eyes, she had never regarded Luo Li as an opponent at all. With a decision in mind, the rest is action. The Qin family cultivator is not strong enough and can be strengthened from two aspects. One is to strengthen one's own strength, and the other is to strengthen the comprehensive strength of the Qin family cultivator through foreign objects. There are many ways to strengthen one's own strength, such as improving body, qi, and spiritual cultivation, improving the realm of the Tao, practicing powerful secrets, magical powers, and so on. As for strengthening the comprehensive strength of the Qin family's children through foreign objects, there are more ways, such as magic tools, spirit talismans, puppets, raising spirit insects, imperial beasts, and so on. Of course, Chen Daoxuan's first choice is to strengthen the strength of the Qin family's children, or to quickly improve the Qin family's children's cultivation. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but glance at the two remaining Saint Yuan fruits in the storage ring. Regarding the rapid improvement of cultivation, the only treasures Chen Daoxian saw were the essence of vitality and the fruit of holy essence. And compared with the essence of vitality, the effect of Shenyuan fruit is much better. The only pity is that the treasure of Shenyuan fruit is too precious according to legend. Only the Taiyin sect has fruit trees that can continuously produce Shenyuan fruit. If other cultivators want to obtain this treasure, they can only go to the battlefield outside the two realms and make military exploits. Once the cultivator has made enough military exploits, he can use the military exploits to exchange various resources and treasures in Tianzun City, including the treasure such as Xingyuan fruit. Xianfu Forest Garden. Luo Li walked quietly beside Chen Daoxian. Liar. Suddenly, Chen Daoxian called out softly. Okay? Luo Li stopped and looked up at Ai laying beside him. I just found out today that my Chen family cultivator's strength is still too weak. Hearing this, Luo Li hurriedly comforted. Chen Lang must not say that. It has only been less than 100 years since the rise of the Qin family. Apart from you, the strongest of the family cultivators have already reached the late stage of Zifu, and the speed is not slow. It's not slow, but I can't wait. Can't wait? Luo Li was a little puzzled. Chen Daoxian expressed his concerns. You mean, once the Qin family forms an alliance with Qianyuan Jianzong, they will be divided and merged by Qianyuan Jianzong? That's right. Apart from me, the most powerful members of the Qin family are only in the late period of Zifu. With such strength, how can they occupy a high position in this new alliance? Once the children of the Qin family cannot occupy a high position, the resources of the alliance will definitely not be tilted towards the children of the Qin family. If things go on like this, after hundreds of thousands of years, my Qin family will only become ordinary members of this new alliance, not its controllers. Hearing this, Luo Li stopped. Chen Lang, you're wrong. Luo Li shook his head. If I'm not mistaken, there must be one condition for marriage between the concubine and you, and that is to have offspring with you. How do you know? Luo Li didn't explain, but smiled and said, the descendants you have with your concubine will be in charge of this alliance in the future. What you said just now is obviously just because you don't believe in concubine, and it's because she doesn't know. Otherwise it is uncertain how sad it will be. Seeing Chen Daoxian frowning, Luo Li looked at him and said softly, Chen Lang, you are here. The Qin family is here. I am here, and the Qin family is here. Chun Daoxian said the sentence, and suddenly became enlightened. That's right. As long as his strength keeps improving, who can suppress the children of the Qin family? All planning. In the face of absolute strength, what does it count? He suddenly realized that he had misunderstood Fei Chengso. The other party didn't set him up, and there was no conspiracy, because Fei Chenxua knew in her heart that it was simply unrealistic to try to control a person like Qin Daoxian by means of a conspiracy. If you had to say that Fei Chenxua set a trap for him, then the only trap was to give birth to a child for him. As everyone knows, compared to Qin Daoxian's fear of concubine Chenxua is the one who truly fears Qin Daoxian after all. In the face of a freak like Qin Daoxian, anyone who takes a closer look will be so frightened that he can't sleep at night. 7017K. Chapter 424. The Fairy City of Guang'an Prefecture. Young's Restaurant. On the second floor, scattered cultivators in twos and threes gathered at a table and sipped comfortably. What they talked about were the major events of Wanxinghai and even the entire Xianyan continent. Listening to their tone, people who didn't know thought they were powerful and how accurate their analysis of the world situation was. Hey, did you hear that? At the wine table, a monk in a green robe with his head on his head stretched his neck and said to everyone mysteriously, the Qin family recently released news that Qin Daoxian, the head of the Qin family, is about to marry the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect. Is this true, fellow Taoist? At the wine table, the fellow drinkers were amazed and inexplicable. The two people mentioned by their companions are not trivial. The Qin family is the most popular family in Wanxinghai, and its patriarch Qin Daoxian is known as the first genius of Wanxinghai. Its name even surpassed Qin Zhan, the master of Zhenhai Temple of Qianyuan Jianzong. As for the other person, it is even more incredible, the sect master of Qianyuan sword sect, the actual ruler of Wanxinghai. The two became Taoist companions, which was a great event for Wanxinghai. Seeing that everyone didn't believe him, the green-robed loose cultivator looked a little unhappy, raised his glass, and said with a displeased expression, "Do you believe me, Wu Mao, fellow Taoist Zhang?" Where, the cultivator surnamed Zhang hurriedly apologized, handing over his hands and saying, "In Guang'an Mansion, who does not know that your brother-in-law, Dayu Zhang, is the third-order refiner of Guanhai Xianqing?
How could we doubt you, Dayu Zhang?"
Humph. When the cultivator surnamed Zhang heard this flattery, his heart was instantly relieved, and then he remembered something and sighed, "Alas, although my brother-in-law is a famous person in Guanhai Xianqing, his life is a bit difficult now." "Oh? What's the reason? Isn't your brother-in-law a third-order refiner? Even if you can't stay in Guanhai Xianqing, you can still get along well when you go to other places?" "I am not sure as well." Sanchio's surnamed Zhang shook his head. "Last time I went to Guanhai Xianqing to visit my sister, she didn't tell me the specific reason, but just said that my brother-in-law is always sighing and feeling low." Another monk at the wine table didn't care about it. He only cared about the news that Qin Daoxian and Fei Chenxua had become Taoist companions. Compared with this explosive news, the companion brother-in-law is not in a high mood, and it is nothing at all. "Don't talk about this, Zhang Daoyu. Let's talk about Qin Zhenren's marriage to the Qianyuan sword sect master, right?" Sure enough, there is no essential difference between monks and mortals who like to listen to gossip. What's more, this is the super big gossip at the top of Wanxinghai. When they heard their companions drag the topic back, everyone agreed, "That's right. Dayu Zhang, don't betray yourselves. Let's talk about Patriarch Chen's marriage to the concubine and suzerain." "Extremely. Exactly." Hearing the urging of his companions, Daoist surnamed Zhang took it easy, cleared his throat, and began to talk about the news he heard in Guanhai Xianqing. A VIP box in the restaurant. At the door stood two monks in blue clothes and carrying long swords. Inside the box, a young and beautiful female cultivator was sitting opposite a handsome male cultivator. Through the window, Yang Gongwan looked at the bustling restaurant, turned her head and said with emotion, "Dayu Zhou also heard about it." Zhou Mubai retracted his gaze from the window, looked at Yang Gongwan, and said, "I've heard of the story of Patriarch Chen's marriage to the concubine and the suzerain. I wonder what Zhou Daoyu thinks about this matter?" Zhou Mubai frowned, then smiled and said, "Patriarch Chen is the leader of my Congzhou colleagues. His marriage to the concubine suzerain will definitely boost my strength and prestige in Congzhou. Of course, I agree with such a happy event." Hearing these perfunctory words, Yang Gongwan said angrily, "Don't you think Qian Yuan's sword-sex attitude is a bit strange? The Chen family released the news of marrying concubine Chen Shui, but Qian Yuan Jianzong did not respond at all, neither admitting nor denying it. What does this mean?" Zhou Mubai smiled. What else can there be? The decision of the concubine sect master and Qin patriarch to marry was blocked within the Qianyuan sword sect. Encountered, Yang Gongwan was a little puzzled. Although the sect master of the imperial concubine eradicated the Yin family and obtained the highest power of the Qianyuan sword sect, there are more than 10 top true monarchs in the Qianyuan sword sect, and there are hundreds of all the Yuanying true monarchs combined. With so many Yuanying true monarchs, it is impossible to make a decision based on the words of the concubine sect master. Yang Gongwan thought for a while, then nodded and said, "That's true. The bigger the power, the more interests are involved." Zhou Mubai nodded. "That's the truth. Qianyuan Jianzong is not a small family like us, and every decision it makes must be discussed by all the high-level officials." The marriage between the imperial concubine and the patriarch Shen had a great impact on the situation in Wanxinghai, and the senior officials of Qianyuan Jianzong would not agree so easily. Speaking of this, the two fell silent for a while. It is foreseeable that once Qin Daoxian and concubine Qin Shui get married, the situation of Wanxinghai will undergo earth-shaking changes. As members of the many family forces in Wanxinghai, how could the Zhou family and the Yang family not care? Twin Lakes Island. A young figure suddenly appeared above Shuanghu Road. As the consciousness unfolded, a trace of surprise flashed across Qin Zhan's face. "You have actually broken through to the nascent soul stage."
Say it.
His figure flashed again and disappeared. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. Zhan Zhan's figure suddenly appeared in Qin Daoxuan's closed room. Perceiving the person coming, Qin Daoxian opened his eyes and looked at him helplessly. "Already going to knock on the door?" "Well, forgot." Qin Zhan shrugged. "Senior sister asked me to give it to you." Having said that, Qin Zhan threw a gourd-shaped magic weapon directly at Qin Daoxian. The latest Dantian magic weapon in the refining hall is much bigger than the small tower you had before. Play Zhan to explain. Chen Daoxian took the gourd cave heavenly artifact thrown by Qin Zhan, and while immersing his consciousness in it, he said, "Your senior sister asked you to come here just to give this?" Of course not. Before Qin Zhan could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Qin Daoxian. "Have you taken down the 4 great demon kingdoms? Hear this." There was a hint of pride on Qin Zhan's face. "How about it, hurry up?" The surprised look on Chen Daoxuan's face slowly subsided, and he nodded. The speed is indeed fast enough, not to mention the extreme Night Demon Country. The strength of the Great Yuan Demon Country and the Lion Camel Demon Country is extraordinary. The 2 big demon kingdoms combined are comparable to the weaker second-rate sects in Xianyansu. I didn't expect you to take it down in more than half a year. It's not all my credit. Over the years, the Shadow Palace has also had a lot of layouts in these 2 demon kingdoms, and even a lot of layouts. Apart from Senior Sister and the Hall Master of the Shadow Palace, even I don't know. Qin Zhan sighed. For a long time, he thought that he knew everything about the Qianyuan sword sect, but this time he included the 4 major demon kingdoms and found that he was wishful thinking. He didn't know much about the many arrangements of Qianyuan sword sect. For example, he had never heard of the layout of the Shadow Palace in the Great Yuan Demon Nation. For a long time, Qin Zhan thought that the Qianyuan sword sect had no arrangements for the Great Yuan Demon Kingdom, but he did not expect that the Shadow Palace was not only arranged, but also penetrated into the harem of the Lord of the Great Yuan Demon Country. It can be described as scheming to the extreme. This time, all the resisting forces of the Great Yuan Demon Nation can be wiped out in one sweep. Although the strength of Qin Zhan World Realm occupies the first place, the support work of intelligence cannot be underestimated. Otherwise, there are so many demon masters in the Great Yuan Demon Kingdom, and they will not stand in the same place stupidly, waiting for the Qianyuan Sword sect to annihilate them. Once the Qianyuan Sword sect's extermination of the Great Yuan Demon Kingdom is revealed, it will not end well. It is not a trivial matter for the monks of the Phoenix Meteor Realm to invade the true demon realm. The consequences of this, the small Qianyuan Jianzong can't bear it at all. The reason why Qin Daoxian was so sure that Qin Zhan had taken down all the 4 demon kingdoms was because the gourd-shaped cave artifact he sent contained the massive resources he desperately needed. Among them, blood marrow and black crystal have the most resources. Looking around, about 2/3 of the entire cave is occupied by these 2 treasures. In addition to blood marrow and black crystal, the remaining 1/3 is the blue wood steel mined from the extreme night demon country. What Qin Zhan brought was not an empty cave artifact, but a massive resource of an entire cave artifact. Senior sister said, "This is her dowry." After thinking for a while, Qin Zhan said again, "Oh yes, senior sister also knows that you need Jia Yuan's waste beads, right?" She said that the Jia Yuanzhu waste beads continued by Qianyuan Jianzong are all yours. It's just that there are too many waste beads. After you and your senior sister get married, go to the sect to get them. Qin Zhan said a lot in one go, babbling like an old mother. Suddenly, Qin Zhan stopped talking, looked up at Qin Daoxian, his eyes were a little red, and said, "Qin Daoxian, you have to be nice to my senior sister. Otherwise, I swear by Qin Zhan, I will never die with you in this life." Looking at Qin Zhan's heartfelt words, Qin Daoxian nodded. "Don't worry. Okay, I believe you." Qin Zhan came over and wanted to pat Qin Daoxian on the shoulder, but after thinking about it, he seemed to think that this was inappropriate. Now Qin Daoxian's identity is changed. He is no longer the junior he could pat on the shoulder at will, and the other party is about to become his brother-in-law. Qin Zhan, who has been educated by the elders and children since childhood, naturally can no longer make such random actions. Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Zhan's hand in the air and knew what he wanted to do. Before he could pat his shoulder, he patted the other person's shoulder first.
See.
Qin Zhan stared, his expression quite dissatisfied, but then his face showed a helpless expression. "By the way, my senior sister asked me to come over. There is one more thing I need to clarify with you." "What's the matters?" Qin Daoxian saw his serious expression, and his face became serious. "Last time, after my senior sister returned to the sect, I proposed to the senior sect to marry you, but the senior sect was unanimously opposed. It is thanks to the senior who eliminated Yin's family, otherwise it may be a big mess this time." Moth. Qin Zhan shook his head and sighed, and continued. "Although Yin's family has been eradicated and senior sister is in control, her status in the sect is definitely not as good as yours in the Qin family. Moreover, what senior sister did this time has indeed hurt the interests of the sect, and it is normal to be opposed by the senior sect." Heard the words.
Qin Daoxian was silent.
Fei Qinxue chose to marry him. On the one hand, the 3 views of the 2 were compatible, and on the other hand, Fei Qinxue understood the terrifying talent of Qin Daoxian. When she chose to marry Qin Daoxian, she was making a big gamble with herself and Qianyuan Jianzong as a bet. If the bet is won in the future, the alliance forces of Qianyuan Jianzong and the Qin family may be expected to have a glimpse of the topmost position in the Phoenix Meteor Realm and become a member of the highest seat in Tianzhuan City. Losing the bet is just a share of Wan Xinghai's ruling authority to the Qin family. As for herself, concubine Qinxue did not think that marrying Qin Daoxian was a loss. Her previous proposal to marry Qin Daoxian was also the result of careful consideration. "What does your sister want me to do?" Qin Zhan smiled and said, "Senior sister, let me ask you, do you want to be the leader of this alliance?" Qin Daoxian nodded unceremoniously. "Senior sister really guessed right," Qin Zhan sighed. "I don't understand. Why are you all thinking about occupying the highest position of power? It's so good to be like me, to focus on improving your own cultivation and strength, and you don't have to worry about those troubles." Having the highest position of power and not worrying about things are not in conflict. Hearing this, Qinzhong thought for a while. It seemed that the senior sister did not have much involvement in the specific matters of the sect, but she firmly controlled the supreme power of the sect. This is the difference between monks and mortals. If in the mortal kingdom, the emperor does not ask about the affairs of the court for a long time, and it will not take long for the power to fall. But in the power of cultivation, this kind of thing does not happen. Those in power can firmly grasp the power of the sect as long as they ensure that their own strength is ahead of the others and they can get the most powerful group of people in the sect. As for the specific things in the sect master rarely asks. After all, when the cultivation base has reached the nascent soul stage, it is possible that it will take dozens or even hundreds of years to retreat for a single retreat. Do you still need to cultivate? Chen Daoxian is the same now. He basically handed over the specific affairs of the family to Chen Dalian. Only major events related to the family's future and destiny will Chen Dalian report to him. As the head of the Chen family, he sometimes acts more like a needle and a flag. Qinzhong shook his head, no longer thought about it, and continued. Senior sister said, if you want to become the leader of this new alliance, you must break through to the primordial spirit stage one step ahead of her. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian frowned, but did not speak. What, do you feel stressed again? Qinzhong smiled. Comparing your Chen family and my Qianyuan sword sect, there is indeed a huge gap in strength. If you want to be the leader of this alliance, you must have the strength to suppress the heroes. Although the second floor of the world realm surpasses the top level of Qianyuan sword sect, but it can't surpass my senior sister, not to mention that your current cultivation level is not comparable to my senior sister. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian sighed and said, it seems that the trip to Liangjiyuan is inevitable. You're thinking, well, I want to go to Tianzuan City and find someone to refine Shengyuan pill. Qinzhong nodded. Your current cultivation is at the first level of nascent soul. If you refine 300 years of Shengyuan fruit into Shengyuan Dan, it is conservatively estimated that you can refine 3, which is enough for you to raise your cultivation to 100%. Nascent soul is at its peak. The peak of nascent soul, the second floor of the world. This cultivation base and the realm of the Great Tao are only on par with concubine Qinxue. This is not to mention that Chen Daoxuan's body training is behind Fei Qinxue. However, Chen Daoxuan's cultivation had really reached this point, and Fei Qinxue forcibly pushed him to the throne of the alliance leader, which was barely reasonable. Otherwise, with Chen Daoxuan's first-level cultivation base, even if his Dao realm reaches the second level of the world realm, there will be a large number of people who will not be convinced. After all, the alliance between the Qin family and Qianyuan Jianzong, sharing the ruling authority of Qianyuan Jianzong, has already made the high-level quarrel of Qianyuan Jianzong. Let Chen Daoxian serve as the leader of this alliance. The difficulty is no less than letting concubine Qinxue abdicate directly and cede the position of suzerain to Chen Daoxian. One can imagine how exaggerated the difficulty is. 7017K. Chapter 425. The Peak of Yuaning. Chen Daoxian muttered immediately. His gaze became extremely firm. He knew that Fei Qinxue advocated an alliance between Qianyuan Jianzong and the Qin family and elected him as the leader of this alliance, which would definitely be unanimously opposed by Qianyuan Jianzong. He could even imagine that the disciples of Qianyuan sword sect might privately claim that concubine Qinxue betrayed the sect. Fei Qinxue was under so much pressure for him. Of course, Chen Daoxian would not disappoint the other party. Besides, only with a strong own strength can one survive in the coming chaos. It is a matter of time before the demon court unifies the real demon world. Although Chen Daoxian has a layout in the real demon world, it is still unknown how much trouble it can cause the demon court to integrate the real demon world. Even if Chen Daoxuan's layout can bring certain obstacles to the unification of the demon court, the obstacles must be very limited. The reason is very simple. Wan Xinghai's strength is insufficient. In the general battle between the real demon world and the phoenix world, strength is the foundation. Chen Daoxuan's layout is only a trail after all. Of course, although it is a trail, it can also bring more buffer time for the rise of Wan Xinghai and his own growth. The later the demon court unites the real demon world, the later the war between the two worlds will break out. With Chun Daoxuan's talent, he will definitely be able to break through to a higher level before the war between the two worlds. According to Chun Daoxuan's own thoughts, he intends to break through the cultivation base to the transcendence period before the war between the two worlds completely breaks out. As for the Mahayana true immortal, Chen Daoxian dare not think about it, because no one in the Phoenix meteor world has been able to achieve this level of cultivation for hundreds of thousands of years. There must be some fortunate secrets that he does not yet understand. However, Chen Daoxian is bound to gain the cultivation base during the robbery period. Only when his cultivation reached the transcending tribulation period, the two major forces of the Qin family and the Qianyuan sword sect under his control could barely rank at the top of the Phoenix meteor realm. In the future, a war between the two worlds will break out, and in the entire Phoenix meteor world, I am afraid that only the top heavenly venerate level forces will not be sacrificed as cannon fodder. Chun Daoxuan's closed room. Qin Zhan took a deep look at Chen Daoxian and said, I have brought all the things and words that senior sister asked me to bring, and it is up to you what to do next. Chen Daoxian nodded, cupped his hands and said, Brother Qin, walk slowly. The words just finished. Qin Zhan's figure instantly disappeared in front of Chen Daoxian. Watching Qin Zhan leave, Chen Daoxian couldn't help clenching the gourd in his hand.
Think about it.
Chen Daoxian swept away his consciousness and found Luo Li, who was cultivating in the immortal mansion. Chen Lang? Luo Li withdrew from the state of refining spiritual energy, raised his head in surprise, and looked at the empty retreat room. It's me. Chen Daoxuan's voice rang in Luo Li's ears. He hesitated. Liar, I have something to tell you. Hearing Chen Daoxuan's tone, Luo Li immediately froze. The last time Chen Daoxian spoke to her in this tone, he told her that the other party wanted to become a Taoist companion with Fei Chenxua. Now, when Chen Daoxian spoke to her in this tone again, Luo Li had to be nervous.
You said.
Chen Daoxian said a little embarrassedly, I have to retreat for a period of time, and after this retreat is over, I may have to go out again. Shut up again? Luo Li frowned. You didn't just break through the nascent soul stage, and you said that you have already consolidated your realm, so you don't need to retreat anymore. Why? I want to condense the indestructible real body. Chen Daoxian said bluntly. Heard. Luo Li nodded with a complicated expression. Chen Lang retreats with peace of mind. I will take care of the family affairs with Sister Dao Lian. Thank you. Hearing this, Luo Li's face suddenly softened. It's not hard. After notifying Luo Li, Chen Daoxian prepared to retreat again. He retreated this time to prepare to raise his body training to the level of condensing his indestructible true body, divided according to the realm of body training. Condensing the indestructible real body is probably equivalent to the level of qi refining and cultivation at the peak of Yuan Ying's peak. That is to say, once Chen Daoxian condenses his indestructible real body, his body cultivation practice can surpass his qi cultivation practice in one fell swoop. Since cultivating the true body of the demon god of Dutian, Chen Daoxuan's body refinement can be described as 1,000 miles in a day. Under the premise of sufficient body refining resources, his body refining speed is almost not much slower than the speed of taking Sheng Yuan Gua to improve his qi cultivation. I had been practicing for a few days before. Chen Daoxian broke through from the skull-shattering realm to the blood-dropping realm, and then he quickly raised his body training to the peak of the blood-dropping realm. Moreover, the fire of the devil in his Tanzhong cave had already begun to transform and advance. Chen Daoxian had a hunch that as long as he provided sufficient blood marrow, the fire of the devil would be transformed into a higher level in an instant. Even with the power level of the fire of the demon god, it is not under the infant fire of ordinary nascent soul cultivators. Infant fire is a kind of spirit fire secret technique specially cultivated by the nascent soul stage artifact refiners and alchemists in order to refine magic tools and refine medicine pills. The power of infant fire is not a big threat to nascent soul cultivators of the same level. But no matter what, it is also a spiritual fire secret technique that can only be mastered at the nascent soul level. Chun Daoxuan's fire of the devil can be compared to the spiritual fire secret technique of the Yuanying monks at the level of blood dripping. In the secret room, Chun Daoxian tapped his chest. A dark gray flame with a pure black core at the core slowly floated out from the Tanzhong point. It is the fire of the devil that he cultivated. Looking at the mysterious flame in front of him, Chen Daoxian fell into contemplation. He had already tried the power of this demonic fire in the demon country of Qingqiu. The Demon King level world demon at the golden core level can't stop it from being roasted at all. It only takes a moment to burn the opponent to ashes. You must know that this is not a simple matter. The Demon King level demons, their fleshly bodies are comparable to those of the body-refining cultivators in the blood-dripping realm. In other words, even Chen Daoxian, without any protection, could not stop the fire power of this group of demon gods. Although this group of demon gods' fire is far from Chen Daoxuan's strongest fusion law attack, its potential is not bad at all. Only at the peak level of the blood-dripping realm, this group of demon fire can sweep the Demon King level realm demon. Then, to further integrate into the true meaning of immortality, wouldn't it be able to sweep away the demon master? It's not even the scariest. According to the records and the practice of Dutian Demon God Real Body, there are 12 kinds of Dutian Demon God Real Body, and each kind of Demon God Real Body will have a chance to transform into supernatural powers when they cultivate to the realm of immortality. And the transformation behind Zhu Rongjin is the fire of this demon. These are all clearly recorded in the exercises. That is to say, once Chen Daoxian can condense into Zhu Rong's true body, his fire of the devil will usher in a complete transformation. Before, the reason why Chen Daoxian didn't have the confidence to practice was because of the shortage of body-refining resources. This Dutian Demon God Real Body is good in everything, but it consumes too much training resources. The conjoined resources in Chen Daoxuan's hands are enough for 100 body-refining cultivators to cultivate from zero to the realm of indestructible true meaning, but he is only cultivated to the peak of the blood-dropping realm. The difference between them is simply unreasonable. In the short term, 100 people's body training resources are nothing, but what about in the future? Don't forget, the more a monk cultivates to the later stage, the more exaggerated the consumption of resources. Moreover, the body-refining resources consumed in the early stage are hundreds of times that of ordinary monks, and there may be more in the future. In the face of this gold-swallowing beast technique, even the rich and powerful Chen Daoxian couldn't stand it. Fortunately, this time, he secretly controlled the 4 major demon nations and tapped into the physical refining resources of the 4 major demon nations, so Chen Daoxian made a fortune. According to Qin Zhan's statement, Feichen Shui had sent all the body refining resources and greenwood steel that were excavated by the 4 great demon kingdoms to Chen Daoxian. Although some of the mines in the 4 major demon kingdoms still remain, Chen Daoxian estimates that the remaining resources are probably not many, maybe not even 1/10 of what he has in his hands. It could be said that Fei Qinshui was already doing her best to support him in his position. Chen Daoxian is not a fool. Of course, he can feel this kindness. Raising his hand, Chen Daoxian looked at the gourd in his hand and rubbed his left hand gently, as if the gourd still had the remaining warmth of Fei Qinshui. Subsequently, his eyes looked in the direction of Qianyuan's sword sect. "Wait for me," Chen Daoxian said silently. Qianyuan's sword sect, a majestic fairy palace, stands above the clouds. Outside the immortal palace, clouds steaming and xiaowei, and groups of cranes flying by, are extremely beautiful.
Sudden.
A figure suddenly appeared in the fairy palace. It was Qin Zhan. Have things been delivered? Inside the immortal palace, concubine Qinshui was wearing a long lavender dress, sitting in front of the desk, holding a paintbrush in her hand. She was drawing lightly with ink. Looking at the painting on the rice paper, it is a picture of a crane in the sunset. Qin Zhan nodded, deliberate.
Okay.
Fei Qinshui turned her head back without raising her head and began to concentrate on painting again. At this time, Qin Zhan couldn't bear it any longer and said, "Senior sister, I admit that Brother Chen's talent is amazing. Even if it is you and me, it is far inferior to him, but you promised to make Qianyuan Jianzong alliance with the Qin family and recommend him as the leader. Alliance leader, is the bet too big? Hearing this, Fei Qinxue raised her head, looked at Qin Zhan, and sighed. Junior brother, what do you think will happen once the demon court unites with the true demon realm? Two worlds war. Qin Zhan was decisive and did not hesitate. Fei Qinxue nodded. Yes, the war between the two worlds, junior brother. At that time, where will my Qianyuan sword sect go? This Qin Zhan choked for a moment. In terms of strength, my Qianyuan sword sect can only be regarded as a second-rate sect, and in terms of background, my Qianyuan sword sect has no background. Although my Qianyuan sword sect inheritance is not weak, it is also a true immortal inheritance, but our true immortal inheritance is different from other families. You should be very clear about this reason. Hearing this, Qin Zhan fell silent. Indeed, it is different from those top sects and top families. Although everyone is a true immortal inheritance, there are differences between the true immortal inheritance and the true immortal inheritance. Just like the Jiang family, its ancestors developed little by little. Before the ancestor of the Jiang family ascended to the upper realm, the Jiang family was already the top force in the Phoenix Meteor realm. Coupled with the pile of cards left by Jiang Laozu, the Jiang family has survived hundreds of thousands of years and still firmly occupies the seat of the top forces in the Fengyun world. The Qianyuan sword sect was different. Although in terms of Taoism, Qianyuan Jianzong is also a true immortal Taoist. But it is a sect that was established casually before the ascension of Qianyuan Jinxian. In the ancient times, there was a group of true immortals who were unwilling to cut off their Taoism before their ascension, so they left some instruments and exercises to establish a sect before their ascension. Qianyuan Jianzong was established in that period. In the Fengyun world, there are many sects like Qianyuan Jianzong, which were established by the Mahayana real immortals, but most of them have disappeared in the long river of history. Only a few of them have survived to this day. After all, hundreds of thousands of years are really too long, so long that even the heavenly venerate transcends tribulation. I don't know how many people have been seated. It is a miracle in itself that Qianyuan Jianzong can persist until now. Because in these hundreds of thousands of years, even the top forces have vanished, let alone a second-rate sect like Qianyuan Jianzong. After a long while, Qin Zhan raised his head. So senior sister thinks that the vitality of my Qianyuan sword sect is in Daiyuchen? Right. Fei Qinxue nodded, then looked out the window again. The troubled times are coming. Twin Lakes Island. Patriarch Immortal Mansion. In the secret room. Chen Daoxian has been in retreat for 3 days. For 3 days, for the nascent soul cultivator, it was like a flick of a finger. But for Chen Daoxian, these 3 days were not easy. The Gourd Cave Heaven artifact, which Fei Qinxue asked Qin Zhan to personally send, is the latest type of cave heaven artifact created by Qianyuan Jianzong. Its internal space is more than 10 times larger than the small tower cave that Chen Daoxian obtained. This is the first time Chen Daoxian has seen such a large cave artifact. This portable cave artifact is different from the Qin family's large transport ship. Although the Qin family's large transport ship also has a cave inside, the transport ship itself is very large, and the cave it accommodates is naturally very large. But the gourd in his hand is different. Chen Daoxian can hold this gourd with one hand, and it is not an easy task to embed such a big cave inside. Of course, compared with the various resources contained in this Dongtian magical artifact, this gourd Dongtian magical artifact is nothing. These 3 days, Chen Daoxian used this dark gray devil fire to frantically refine the blood marrow in the gourd cave heaven magical tool. Because there are too many blood marrow in the gourd, Chen Daoxian is too lazy to use his spiritual sense to count them. For the past 3 days, he has been repeating an action that is, taking blood marrow, refining, taking blood marrow, refining again. 3 days of work. Under this almost crazy refining, the fire of the devil in Chen Daoxian's Tanzhong cave finally had a new change. Compared with before, Chen Daoxian's demon fire has changed from dark gray to pure black. At first glance, the fire of the devil was dark and frightening. When he opened his mouth and spit, the fire of the devil spit out from Chun Daoxuan's mouth and then quietly suspended in front of him. Chun Daoxian stared at the pure black demon fire and muttered, "I don't know if you can refine black crystals now." In the past 3 days, Chun Daoxian used all the refined blood marrow to enhance the fire of the devil, not to enhance his physical strength. Because Chun Daoxian firmly believes that sharpening knives does not mistake chopping wood. Therefore, his body training is still the same as before, only the peak of the blood-dripping realm. Now that Demon God's fire has successfully transformed, of course, he has to further improve his body refinement cultivation base in one fell swoop. 7017K. Chapter 426. Quiet Indoors. The pure black fire of the demon god was quietly suspended. Chun Daoxian breathed a sigh of relief and took out a black crystal from the gourd cave heavenly artifact. It is the inextinguishable true meaning condensate 1 by 1 black crystal. The surface of the black crystal is extremely hard, and even with Chun Daoxuan's physical body, pure strength alone cannot shake it. Chun Daoxian raised his hand and slowly threw the black crystal into the pure black fire of the devil.
Laugh.
I saw that the black crystal melted instantly, as if the ice and snow met the scorching sun. Immediately afterwards, an inexplicable breath rushed towards his body from the black fire of the devil. This is... Chun Daoxian only felt that the strength of his physical body, which had fallen into a bottleneck, began to increase sharply. Every moment, he felt the surging power that was constantly pouring out of his flesh. This power is very pure, completely different from the power of the law. It is pure physical power since there is no reference. Chun Daoxian does not know the extent of his current physical strength, but he knows that his physical body has definitely broken the boundary of the blood drop realm and entered a new realm. Unexpectedly, the practice of Zhu Rong's real body is completely different from the traditional body refining method. It is not a brutal integration of the inextinguishable true meaning into the flesh and blood, but is refined by the fire of the devil and then integrated into the flesh. Chun Daoxian said silently. Chun Daoxian couldn't be more clear about the benefits of doing this. Although the body-refining treasure of indestructible true meaning is good, it has a disadvantage. That is, a body-refining cultivator cannot incorporate too much inextinguishable true meaning into the body at one time. If the cultivator does not control it well and integrates too many inextinguishable true meanings at one time, it is possible that the cultivator's flesh body is completely assimilated by the inextinguishable true meaning. As a result, the cultivator's body turned into an invisible black mist. Unexplained cultivators may think that the fleshly body turned into an invisible and intangible black mist form. Isn't it similar to the legendary immortal body? Actually, the two are completely different. Immortal body is a brand new body condensed by monks who successfully transcended tribulation and broke through to Mahayana true immortal. After being forged by multiple forces, it is also called immortal body. And the body of an ordinary monk cannot be compared with it at all. Although from the outside, the physical body assimilated by the true meaning of immortality will have some characteristics of the immortal body, but the cultivator's consciousness will completely turn into nothingness at the moment when the physical body is assimilated by the true meaning of immortality. At that time, monks cannot be called monks but the new meaning of immortality. There are many powerful cultivators in the Phoenix Meteor realm and the True Demon realm guessing that the true meaning of immortality may be derived from the flesh and blood of some powerful creatures. And the real body of Zhu Rong, who was cultivated by Chun Daoxian, had no such worries at all. Because in essence, the increase in the strength of his physical body does not rely on the direct integration of indestructible true meaning into the physical body, but a special substance that has been refined by the fire of the devil. Chun Daoxian didn't know what to call this substance, but he had previously madly improved his body refinement cultivation, all of which depended on this special substance. The resources that are equivalent to his improving the physical strength are chewed by the fire of the devil, and all harmful substances have been filtered out. Chun Daoxuan's thoughts couldn't help drifting away after feeling the crazy improvement of his body training. Body cultivation can be improved wildly in this way, but what about qi cultivation? For a time, Chen Daoxian couldn't help thinking a lot. Like body refining resources, qi refining resources also contain many harmful substances, such as the most common medicinal pills. Why can't you be reckless when you practice taking medicine pills? It is because there is a thing called erysipelas in the medicine pill. No matter how clever an alchemist is, it is impossible to completely remove the erysipelas in the medicine pill, but it can only be said to try to get rid of it as much as possible. But in this way, cultivators will inevitably encounter many problems when they cultivate with the help of medicinal pills. For example, the efficiency of taking pills to cultivate, such as not taking pills in large quantities, and so on. If this fire of the devil can also refine the harmful substances in the medicine pill, doesn't this mean that his qi refining cultivation can be similar to his body refining cultivation? As long as he has enough resources, he can improve and scrupulously. After cultivators reach the nascent soul stage, the first element that hinders cultivators from improving their cultivation is often no longer resources, but the realm of the Tao. But what Chen Daoxian is most afraid of is to improve the realm of the Tao. For a long time, due to the existence of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, the speed of Chen Daoxian's improvement in the realm of the Tao has far exceeded the speed of his cultivation. Even if Chen Daoxian took the treasures that quickly improved his cultivation many times, he would not be able to keep up with the improvement of the realm of the Tao. It is estimated that in the entire Fengyan world, Chen Daoxian is also the only person who is troubled by the rapid improvement of the Tao realm. The cultivation base can't keep up with the realm, although in the eyes of outsiders, it will create an illusion of sweeping the same level of invincibility. But Chen Daoxian doesn't need to sweep the same level invincible. What he needs is a strong strength. If his cultivation reached the primordial spirit stage, his strength would be at least 10 times or even 100 times stronger than he is now. Isn't this much more real than some invincible title of the same rank? After all, on the battlefield, whoever plays with you will be the general. In the battlefield outside the two worlds, the battle between monks and world demons only depends on one thing: one's strength. Yuanshan-level demons attack the monks in the Yuanying period, and it is commonplace in the battlefield outside the two realms. Similarly, high-level human monks also often slaughter low-level demons. On the battlefield outside the territory, the world demon can't bully the small without telling the monks. Even for their own safety, many high-level world monsters specially hunted and killed human monks with lower cultivation levels than them on the battlefield outside the territory. Not only the world monsters, the human monks have been on the battlefield outside the territory for a long time, and they will become unscrupulous because their no rules are more important than survival. This is very different from the sect battle within the Fengyan realm. Although a large-scale war broke out between Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Dao League, it was rare that high-level monks massacred low-level monks. Even if there is, it is only a small-scale slaughter. And Qianyuan Jianzong will also try to cover it up. For example, Ji Suhui, a cultivator of the Ji family who was killed by Chen Daoxian, was an executioner who often slaughtered low-level cultivators on the battlefield of Izumo. When he ended, he was ordered by Qianyuan Jianzong to be transferred back, and he was not allowed to step into the battlefield of Iron Kingdom for the rest of his life. Because the struggle between the sects of the Fengyan realm is essentially a competition for interests and resources. It's not that one side wants to completely exterminate everyone on the other side. Although the Qianyuan sword sect has now brought the Izumo kingdom under its control, the Qianyuan sword sect has not violated the countless mortals and loose cultivators of the Izumo country. On the contrary, Qianyuan Jianzong issued a decree to protect the safety of Izumo mortals and loose cultivators as soon as they occupied Izumo, which quickly stabilized people's hearts and the situation. The world demon is different. In the battlefield outside the two worlds, there is no compromise between the human monks and the world monsters. As long as one party is convinced that it can kill the other party, it will definitely kill the other party. Human monks sometimes keep their hands because they have a secret technique similar to Soul Seal, which can enslave the demons. The world demons rarely keep their hands. In the battlefield outside the two realms, Once the human race cultivator is defeated, the only fate is to become the nourishment of the source realm in the world demon. Therefore, after entering the extraterritorial battlefield, the first lesson that monks need to learn is to throw away all kindness and use all kinds of unscrupulous means to the extreme. Only in this way can it be possible to survive on the battlefield outside the territory. Of course, not everyone needs this, such as some strong people with absolute strength.
Now,
because the two sides did not break out a large-scale war in the extraterritorial battlefield, the fighting between the two sides is limited to the Yuanshan stage and below. Therefore, some of the top powerhouses in the Yuanshan period have become absolutely unprovoked existences in the extraterritorial battlefield. This knowledge is absolutely necessary for cultivators who go to the battlefield outside the territory for the first time, because at the critical moment, this knowledge may save your little life. Chun Daoxuan's strength is a hard-to-find opponent in Wanxinghai, but in the battlefield outside the two realms of the two realms, he is not a strong man. The true monarch on the second floor of the world realm, although he is not at the bottom of the battlefield outside the two realms abyss. But it is definitely not a top powerhouse. In the battlefield outside the territory, Yuanshan Daojun dare not say that he has absolute self-protection power. This is also the reason why many first-class sects in the Fengyan world dare not send monks to the battlefield outside the territory. Because in the first-class sect, Yuanshan Daojun is the top-level power, and this level of power is only consumable in the field outside the territory. Quiet indoors. With the transformation of Demon God's fire, it can refine black crystals with little effort at all. Chun Daoxuan's physical strength was rapidly increased under the special substance fed back by the fire of the devil. This kind of rocket-like training speed, Chun Daoxian simply couldn't stop. Unlike taking Shenyuan fruit, that thing is too rare after all. Although the true meaning of immortality is also very precious, compared with the only Saint Yuan fruit in the entire Fengyan realm, there are many more channels to obtain it. Only using the fire of the devil to refine the inextinguishable true meaning can be comparable to the cultivation speed of taking Shenyuan fruit. Who can resist? In the gourd magic implement, the mountain of black crystals accumulated rapidly diminished. Chun Daoxuan's physical body, in less than a day, has risen to the threshold of condensing the indestructible real body. But at this time his body training was stuck again. To be precise, it's not that his body training is stuck, but his demon god's fire is accumulating energy for promotion again. Chun Daoxian found that compared to body training, Zhu Rongzhenshin's body training method seems to be more focused on the fire of the devil. Because the resources consumed by promoting this group of devil fire are far higher than simply improving the physical strength. I don't know how much higher. The Dongtian artifact sent by Qinzhan could contain more than 90% of the black crystals from the 4 major demon kingdoms. It is no exaggeration to say that these black crystals are almost enough for all the nascent soul cultivators in the entire Wanxinghai to condense their indestructible true bodies. Fei Chenxue sent such a large amount of body refining resources directly, which shows how much she supports from Chun Daoxian. Without any exaggeration, the resources in this gourd-shaped cave-like artifact in Chun Daoxuan's hands are more than 10 times more precious than all the assets of the Chun family combined. This wealth, even for Qianyuan Jianzong, is an amazing wealth. But concubine Chenxue quietly ordered Qinzhan to send it to Chun Daoxian. Therefore, Chun Daoxian will say that he will not forget these words of this kindness. But gradually, Chun Daoxian discovered that some of these resources were not enough for him to be promoted to this group of devil fire. How so? For months later, Chun Daoxian was stunned. For 4 full months, this group of demon gods fire maintained a high-speed refining and swallowing black crystal for 4 months, but there was no change in the slightest. It can't be said that there is no change. Chun Daoxian feels that its color seems to have become deeper. Other than that, nothing has changed. As for the power of the fire of the devil, Chun Daoxian is not very clear, but thinking about the consumption of so many resources, the power will not be low. But this is not what Chun Daoxian cares about. He needs this group of demon fire to be promoted, and then he needs to condense Zhu Rong's real body. Because once Zhu Rong's real body is condensed successfully, his demon fire will usher in a complete transformation. At that time, Chen Daoxian estimated that even if he did not break through to the primordial spirit stage, with this spirit fire secret technique, he would still be able to gain a foothold in the extraterritorial battlefield. Although he is mentally prepared, he will go to the battlefield outside the two realms to find out. But after all, it is different from on Qinghai and Xianyan continent. Its danger level is many times higher than that of Phoenix Meteor Realm. Although Chen Daoxian went there not to fight, but to beg someone to refine Shengyuan pill. But without enough strength, how can you protect yourself in an extraterritorial battlefield where war may break out at any time? It is precisely because of this that Chen Daoxian did not hesitate to spend a lot of resources and wanted to completely improve his cultivation to the extreme before going to the extraterritorial battlefield. Unfortunately, God did not wish. He envisaged to raise the cultivation base to the realm of condensing the indestructible real body, which is destined to be impossible to achieve. Half-year later, the door and formation of the quiet room opened. The exhausted Chen Daoxian slowly walked out of the closed room. Chen Lang. In the quiet room, Luo Li, who saw Chen Daoxian, immediately greeted him with concern in his eyes. Looking at Luo Li, Chen Daoxian's exhaustion seemed to have disappeared. He gently opened his hand and embraced the beautiful woman in his arms. He buried his head forcefully into the other's thick hair and took a deep breath. Afterwards, Chen Daoxian raised his head, looked at Luo Li's haggard eyes, and said softly, "Didn't I say so? I'm just improving my body training. I don't need to protect the law for me." Luo Li shook his head, buried his head in Chen Daoxian's arms, and did not speak. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian quietly embraced her, enjoying the silence of this moment. But soon, this quiet atmosphere was broken. Luo Li seemed to notice something, and like a frightened rabbit, broke away from Chen Daoxian's arms. Chen Daoxian let go of Luo Li and narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at the escaping light from far to near. "Patriarch, are you out?" As the light of escape fell, Chen Daoqiu saw Chen Daoxian with a surprised expression on his face. Immediately afterwards, Chen Daoqiu's face changed from surprise to joy, and he said with joy, "That's great. I was going to call you before I came. What's the matter? So happy." "Patriarch, look," Chen Daoqiu said, and immediately handed a storage ring to Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian took the storage ring, swept away his consciousness, and a look of joy appeared on his face. The speed of the refining hall is really fast. 7,017 K. Chapter 427. Qianyuan Sword Sect. A figure suddenly appeared in front of the Zhongmen Great Formation. "Stop the comers." In the Mountain Protection Formation, a voice sounded in Chen Daoxian's ear. Immediately afterwards, a series of escaping lights quickly flew out of the formation, and when the patrolling disciples saw the person coming, they were all shocked.
Chen.
Chunjinren, no, the younger generation pays respect to Chen Jinjuan. The leading disciples of Qianyuan Jianzong hurriedly bowed to Chen Daoxian. The patrolling disciples behind him all followed him and saluted Chen Daoxian together. Chen Daoxian nodded, took out a few bottles of medicinal pills from the storage ring at will, and sent them out to everyone, saying bluntly, "I'm here to see Fei Chenxua." Hearing this, everyone looked at each other in dismay. In recent days, the rumors in the sect that the sect master and Chen Daoxian, the patriarch of the Qin family, are about to become Taoist companions, have not stopped. Of course, these patrolling disciples also heard about it. Especially when they heard Chen Daoxian's title to the sect master, there was a sense of resentment in their hearts.
Why?
Their Qianyuan sword sect is the ruler of Wanxinghai, and even if the Qin family leader is astonishingly talented, it is impossible to take the position of Qianyuan sword sect master. Seeing that several of the inspecting disciples present did not accept the medicinal pill he sent, nor open the mountain protection formation, Chen Daoxian finally felt the hostility of the Qianyuan sword sect disciples towards him. Previously, He heard Qin say that the disciples of the Qianyuan sword sect were very repelled by his marriage with his concubine Qin Shui, and he didn't feel deeply. Now, he finally felt deeply. Why? Don't you even want me in the sect? Chen Daoxian smiled slightly. Junior dare not. Although the leading inspecting disciples said that they did not dare, they did not mean to open the mountain protection formation for Chen Daoxian at all. Just when the two sides were deadlocked, a cold voice entered everyone's ears.
Bold.
Whose disciples are you guys, so ignorant of etiquette? How dare you neglect this distinguished guest? Chen Daoxian immediately heard that this was concubine Chengshi's voice. Sect master, forgive me. We. A group of inspecting disciples were trembling with fear, bowed their heads, and were speechless. Go to the punishment hall by yourself to receive the punishment.
Yes.
The head of the patrolling disciple was like an eggplant beaten by frost, bowing his head, not daring to defend himself. After concubine Qin Shui finished her lesson and inspected the disciples, Qianyuan Jianzong's mountain protection formation slowly opened. Chen Daoxian didn't even look at them. He stepped into the mountain protection formation and disappeared in front of everyone in an instant. Brother, what should we do now? The rest of the disciples looked at the patrolling disciple at the head and asked, Let's go to the punishment hall to receive the punishment. The leading patrolling disciple sighed. Beside him, a junior brother who was close to him persuaded him, Senior brother, you and I are only in the Purple Palace period. Why bother to go to this muddy water? Hearing this, the inspecting disciple headed up and said solemnly, Qianyuan sword sect is not the sect of the sect master, but the sect of all the disciples of my Qianyuan sword sect. Even if the suzerain is in front of me today, I, Zheng Hui, still have this attitude. Senior brother, no need to say more. Let's go and receive the punishment together. Yeah, the sect master's decision. Even if we don't agree, what can we do? Alas, Qianyuan Jianzong, give it up. Some people sigh, some are discouraged. But their attitudes were surprisingly consistent. That is, they did not agree with the marriage of Fei Qinshui and Qin Daoxian, let alone the alliance between Qianyuan Jianzong and the Qin family. Fei Chengshi's dojo. In front of a majestic Asgard, a young cultivator, with a playful expression on his face, looked at Qin Daoxian in front of him and said, How are you? Are you shriveled? Qin Daoxian nodded and sighed. What you said before was too polite. Where are they? Disagreeing with the alliance of you and me is simply hostile. Qin Zhan shook his head. You also have to understand these disciples of Zongmin. In their eyes, Qianyuan Jianzong is the ruler of Wangxinghai. But now, the Qin family not only wants to share the ruling authority of our clan, but senior sister also intends to recommend you as the leader of this alliance. Can they not be hostile to you? Your senior sister has suffered. After a long while, Chen Daoxian choked out such a sentence. You still have some conscience. Qin Zhan pursed his lips. I know that your talent is amazing and your future achievements are limitless, but my senior sister is not someone who covets your support in the future. I know what your senior sister thinks. Chen Daoxian nodded solemnly. Fei Qinshui was willing to marry him. Maybe 90% of the reason was for the future of the sect, but there were indeed some elements that matched his eyes. This point, Chen Daoxian can feel in his dealings with each other. Come in. My sister is waiting for you inside. Farewell. Chen Daoxian cupped his hands and walked into the Asgard. Qin Zhang glanced at Chen Daoxian's back. His figure flashed, and he disappeared in place in an instant. Inside Asgard, a slender woman in a white fairy dress turned her back to him and looked at the sea of clouds outside the window. Chen Daoxian silently walked to her side and accompanied her to watch the scenery outside the window. Congratulations on breaking through the nascent soul period. Fei Qinshui turned her head sideways. A sincere smile appeared on her pretty face. Thanks, Chen Daoxian paused. Did you and my alliance cause you a lot of troubles? Fei Qinshui looked at Chen Daoxian intently and said firmly, Don't worry, I can handle this. Hear this. Chen Daoxian no longer speaks. Up to now, he can only trust each other. Your troubles may be greater than mine. Fei Chenxue looked at Chen Daoxian. Liang Jiyuan is not as simple as you think. Compared to the inside of Fengyun realm, the extraterritorial battlefield of Liang Jiyuan is far more dangerous. There, the most elite forces of the two worlds were assembled. Even, there are true immortal-level existences on the side of the world monsters who are sitting in Liang Jiyuan all year round. Fei Chenxue sighed. In the battlefield outside Liang Jiyuan, my human cultivator has always been at a disadvantage. For hundreds of thousands of years, we can only rely on the true immortals who have ascended to the upper realm to leave formations and build a defense line in order to resist the invasion of the world monsters. But as the integration of the two worlds continues to advance, this line of defense has become precarious. Once this line of defense is broken, it may not be necessary for the demon court to unify the real demon world, and countless world demons will completely enter our Phoenix meteor realm. Seeing Fei Chengshu's worried appearance, Chen Daoxian said with relief, "No matter what we need to do most is to improve our strength. Only in this way can we deal with all the crises that may arise in the future." Fei Chenxue looked at him, nodded and said, "You are right." After thinking about it, Chen Daoxian suggested, "I have an idea." "Go ahead." Concubine Chenxue said in a serious tone. "You know my Chen family's Magic Weapon Research Institute, right?" Concubine Chenxue nodded. "I heard a little bit. You told me last time, but unfortunately I couldn't visit one or two." In Fei Chengshu's mind, the Chen family's Magical Instrument Research Institute should be a functional department similar to the Qianyuan Jianzong's Artifact Refining Hall. Chen Daoxian didn't know what Concubine Chenxue was thinking, and continued, "Although the alliances of you and me are temporarily hindered, we can first integrate Qianyuan Jianzong's Item Refining Hall and my Chen family's Magic Item Research Institute into together." "You mean, I want to use the talents of your Artifact Refining Hall and the model of the Chen Family Artifact Research Institute to create a unique artifact research institution." Hearing this, Fei Chenxue thought for a while. Then who should be in charge of this newly established department? "You are in charge," Chen Daoxian continued. "My younger brother Chen Daochu is in charge of establishing a new model for the Research Institution of Magical Instruments, and the Hall Master Huyen is in charge of the deployment of talents for refining instruments." Chen Daoxuan's move can be said to have handed over the most core magic weapon research institute of the Chen family. But at the same time, he also gained countless refining geniuses from Qianyuan sword sect. If these artifact refining geniuses were cultivated by the Chen family, it would take hundreds or even thousands of years. The craftsmen of Qianyuan sword sect have been selected and cultivated from generation to generation before they can have their current scale. It is impossible for the Chen family to catch up in a short time. One of the reasons why the Chen family's Magical Instrument Research Institute has been able to repeatedly produce significant results is that Chen Daoxian gave them a clear research goal. Another important reason is the great role played by the preaching function of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic. Without these two cofactors, Chen Daochu and the others wanted to come up with a series of research results, such as the Magic Tool Machine Tool and the Talisman Lithography Machine, which is simply a dream. The Qianyuan Sword Sect's Refining Hall is different. Qianyuan Jianzong can launch a variety of innovative instruments one after another, all relying on the refining masters of the refining hall to play their terrifying talents. Absolutely no outside help. If these two are combined, and the preaching function of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic is used at home, Chen Daoxian can't believe what kind of surprises this newly established magic weapon research department can give him in the future. When Fei Chenxue heard that Chen Daoxian had handed over the most important magical instrument research department to her, a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Trust is built up little by little, and Fei Chenxue felt that her previous efforts were not in vain. "It is good." Fei Chenxue nodded and agreed. After talking about the business, Chen Daoxian gently pulled up the other party's little hand and said, "I'm here to say goodbye to you." "I know, gone."
Okay.
Chen Daoxian looked at Fei Chenxue, smiled, and disappeared in front of her. From Wanxinghai to Liang Jiyuan, the road is extremely long, and it is necessary to use space to transmit a large array. There is only one space teleportation formation from Wangxinghai to Xianyunzhu, and that is a teleportation formation established by Qianyuan Jianzong. And from the frontier land of Xianyun continent, there is not a single space teleportation formation going to Liangjiyuan. If Chen Daoxian wants to rush to Liangjiyuan, he must use the space of Tianyunzong to teleport the Great Formation to the core area of Xianyunzhu Wuji Xianmen. Wuji Xianmen is the first-class sect of Xianyunzhu. Apart from the top cultivation forces in Liangjiyuan, Wuji Xianmen is the first sect of Xianyunzhu. Compared with the second-rate sect of Qianyuan Jianzong, the power of its sect is not known how much stronger.
Certainly.
No matter how strong the power of Wuji Immortal Sect is, it is only a first-class sect, and there is no heavenly lord of tribulation in the sect. Otherwise, it would not be a first-class sect, but a top-level sect. However, as the strongest first-class sect in Xianyunzhu, Wuji Xianmen holds a giant space teleportation formation connecting Xianyunzhu and Liangjiyuan. For hundreds of thousands of years, with this formation, Wuji Xianmen has been standing upright. Its background is even stronger than many top-level cultivation forces sitting in Liangjiyuan. In Wuji Xianmen, the number of Yuanshan Daojun is the largest in the entire Phoenix media realm. But what is strange is that there is no heavenly venerate transcending tribulation at the Promise Immortal Sect. This time, Chen Daoxian is going to borrow the way from Tianyunzong to go to Wuji Xianmen, and then take the giant space teleportation formation of Wuji Xianmen to go to Liangjiyuan. This journey should be the longest journey Chen Daoxian has taken. Although his strength is hard to find an opponent among nascent soul cultivators, he can't help but feel a little uneasy.
Brush.
Chen Daoxian's figure appeared again, already in Zhennan Xiancheng. Looking at the familiar and unfamiliar Zhennan Pass in front of him, Chen Daoxian's consciousness swept away and enveloped the entire immortal city. Such a move immediately attracted the attention of a Jindan cultivator in the teleportation formation of the Guardian Space. Who is so arrogant, dare? When the Jindan Xiutu saw Chen Daoxian's figure, he immediately lowered his head and said respectfully, "Meet Chen Jinjuan?"
Okay.
Chen Daoxian looked at the Jindan cultivator of Qianyuan Jianzong in front of him and recognized at a glance that this was one of the 6 Jindan cultivators who accompanied him on the expedition to recover Zanengwen. If Chen Daoxian remembers it well, this person seems to be surnamed Zhao. "I haven't seen you for a few years, Daoyu Zhao. Don't come here without a lamb?" "No lamb. No lamb." The cultivator surnamed Zhao said repeatedly, "I didn't expect that the true monarch still remembers the younger generation." Saying that, the monk surnamed Zhao looked a little excited. In his eyes, Chen Daoxian's later achievements were like myths. Especially recently, there has been a lot of uproar in Qianyuan Jianzong, and he and the suzerain are about to marry. Although he is also a disciple of Qianyuan Sword Sect, but as a comrade-in-arms who has fought side by side with Chen Daoxian, he does not reject the alliance between the Qin family and Qianyuan Sword Sect, let alone the marriage between Chen Daoxian and his suzerain. Because as a monk with the same cultivation level as Chen Daoxian back then, he knew too well how terrifying Chen Daoxian's talent was. How many years has it been since the recovery of Zanengwen? The other party is already Yuaning Zhenjuan. This kind of cultivation speed, I am afraid that it will take hundreds of years before the other party can become the heavenly lord of tribulation, right? How can such a talented monk not be worthy of his own suzerain? It seems that Qianyuan Jianzong has lost some of Wangxinghai's ruling authority, but it has gained Chen Daoxian, the future super powerhouse. No matter how this deal is calculated, it is worth it. Chat with the monk surnamed Zhao. Chen Daoxian asked casually, "Is this town Ningxianqing now under your control?" After hearing this, the monk surnamed Zhao showed a strange look on his face. "Don't you know, true monarch?" "Do not know what is this?" Chen Daoxian felt a little inexplicable. After hesitating for a moment, the monk surnamed Zhao explained, "Now this immortal city in the south of the town is under the control of the young sect master, Qi Yao." Chen Daoxian frowned. Qi Yao recaptured Zanengwen in the past in order to gain military exploits so that she could successfully inherit the position of suzerain in the future. But now not only Zenangwen, but even the entire Azumo kingdom is in the possession of Qianyuan sword sect. Her young sect master still sits in this immortal city. Isn't she overkill? Seeing that Chen Daoxian showed a puzzled look, the cultivator surnamed Zhao said cautiously, since the news that you and the sect master are about to marry, Jinjuan. The young sect master had a big fight with the sect master, and later, he came here in a fit of anger. Everyone in the sect is preaching. Chen Daoxian saw him hesitating, with a displeased look on his face, and said, Zhao Daoyu said it bluntly. Yes. The cultivator surnamed Zhao hurriedly cupped his hands. Everyone in the sect is saying that it was you, Jinjuan, who robbed the young sect lord of the sect master's position, and she ran away in frustration. After finishing speaking, the monk surnamed Zhao lowered his head and said nothing. Thank you, Daoyu Zhao, for clarifying your doubts. Don't dare. The true monarch is serious. The monk surnamed Zhao saluted again and again. 7017K. Chapter 428. Zhennan Xiancheng. The backyard of the city lord's mansion. A maid in azure clothes moved lightly and quickly walked into the courtyard. In the backyard, a woman in white was sitting under an osmanthus tree, fiddling with the strings of the violin, but the sound of the violin was erratic under her fiddling, showing that the plucker's mind was not on the guqin at all. Sect Master. The maid in blue walked to Qi Yao's side and called out in a low voice. Qi Yao didn't lift her head and asked softly, Are you gone? The blue-clothed maid nodded. Well, let's go.
Done.
The strings suddenly broke, but Qi Yao didn't feel anything. Half an hour. Qi Yao just stood up slowly. She looked at the direction where Chen Daoxian left and finally made up her mind. I've made up my mind. I'm going to Liangjiyuan. Young sect master? The blue-clothed maid's face suddenly turned pale. She didn't understand why the young sect master would have such absurd thoughts. Liangjiyuan has always been a taboo word for the monks of Fengyun realm. Few monks from Fengyun realm dare to take the initiative to go to Liangjiyuan. If it weren't for the fact that Tianzuan City forced the cultivation forces above the first class in Fengyun realm, enough monks must be dispatched to Liangjiyuan to guard each year, and no one would want to go to that place. In the eyes of the high-level cultivators of Fengyun realm, although Liangjiyuan has some opportunities, compared with these ethereal opportunities, the danger of Liangjiyuan is much greater. Compared with the war that broke out between the two worlds, the sect war in the Fengyun world can only be regarded as a small fight at best. It is said that the war between Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqingdao League is already the most fierce battle in the battle between the forces of Fenjianji Zongmen. But in this war, how many nascent soul monks died from the beginning to the end? According to the statistics of the Qianyuan sword sect, in the battle between the two sects that lasted for hundreds of years, the total number of Yuaning true monarchs who died in the battle was only a few dozen, and less than 100. Generally speaking, as long as the monks on one side are willing to surrender, the other side will choose to accept it rather than kill them all. But if the Yuaning Jinjuan of the two sects were placed on the battlefield outside the two realms, it is estimated that they would not be enough for a small-scale offensive and defensive battle. Liangjiyuan is the real meat grinder for high-level monks. The high-level monks with power and status in the Fengyun realm are just a resource that can be consumed on the battlefield outside the two realms' abyss. In this situation, how many high-level monks from Fengyun realm dare to go to Liangjiyuan? In addition to the top-level power children who took root in Liangjiyuan, there are very few monks in Fengyun realm who are willing to take the initiative to guard Liangjiyuan. As for Jindan cultivators like Qi Yao, it is extremely rare to be willing to go to Liangjiyuan. Jindan cultivator can barely be called a high-level cultivator in the Fengyun realm, but can only be called cannon fodder in the battlefield outside the two realms' abyss. Facing the endless army of demons, ordinary Jindan cultivators may not even be able to turn a single wave out. In the courtyard, Qi Yao glanced at her maidservant, then glanced at the direction of Qianyuan Jianzong, and said with a sad face, "There is nothing worth lingering on here. It's better to do my best for this world that gave birth to me and raised me. My last effort." Xiaolan, I've already figured it out, so I don't need to persuade me. Looking at Qi Yao's resolute expression, the maid named Xiaolan opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything after all. Leave Jinnan's Xiancheng. Chen Daoxian went all the way east and continued to perform teleportation in the direction of Tianyinzong. After breaking through the nascent soul period, Chen Daoxian's divine consciousness shrouded the area and transformed again. From the original more than 2,300 miles, it soared nearly 10 times to more than 20,000 miles. The strength of this kind of consciousness has already surpassed that of ordinary monks who have just broken through the nascent soul stage. Chen Daoxian knew that this was the result of his cultivation of the Divine Sea chapter. If it weren't for the short time he had been cultivating the Divine Sea chapter, his current strength of consciousness would probably be comparable to that of ordinary Yuanchen Daojun. Along the way, Chen Daoxian was in a frantic hurry. Feeling a little heavy, Chen Daoxian vaguely guessed the reason for the conflict between Qi Yao and Fei Chenxue. But in the face of this evil fate, as a party, he could neither persuade nor make any unrealistic promises to Qi Yao. Simply, he chose to escape and chose to ignore this close friend in Jinnan's Xiancheng. But even though others escaped, the guilt in my heart could never be let go. Although he married concubine Chenxue, the main purpose was for the Qin family. But he did fail Luo Li, and he also failed Qi Yao, who had always had a deep-rooted love for him. Although he was affectionate towards Qi Yao and never made any promises, it did not mean that he could hurt each other so much. It is conceivable that Chen Daoxuan's marriage with concubine Chenxue has dealt a great blow to Qi Yao. My most respected master robbed my most beloved man. This kind of blow, I am afraid that any woman in the world will not be able to accept it.
Feel sorry.
Chen Daoxian whispered softly, and then his figure disappeared again. Tianyinzong. As a second-rate sect on the border of Xianyunzhu, Tianyinzong has always been on good terms with Qianyuan Jianzong. Although the last raid on the Xianqing Dao League, Tianyinzong, like the other two sects, was desperately dragging the Qianyuan Jianzong's hind legs, but these actions were carried out secretly on the surface. The two sides have maintained a fairly friendly relationship. Therefore, as soon as Qin Daoxian set foot on the giant immortal city 1000 formation city under the gate of Tianyinzong Mountain, he received the highest standard of reception. The suzerain of Tianyinzong personally led a group of nascent soul elders of Tianyinzong, lined up in the air to greet him. Viewed from a high altitude, the buildings in Thousand Array City are like a giant gossip formation, and this giant gossip formation can be divided into 1,000 formations. Therefore, this immortal city is also known as the Thousand Array City. Although the Thousand Array City is very simple compared to the Tianyinzong's Mountain Protection Formation and the Qianyuan Jianzong's Mountain Protection Formation. But as far as the immortal city is concerned, this is already the immortal city with the strongest formation defense among all the immortal cities that Qin Daoxian has seen. Even Jinnan's Xiancheng, which had shriveled him before, was not as good as the defensive formation of Thousand Formation City. Sect Master Zhou, stay safe. Over the Thousand Formation City, Chen Daoxuan's escape light stopped at a distance of about 100 meters from the sect master of Tianyinzong, and then thanked the other party. This time, Chen Xian thanked the Zhou sect master for borrowing the formation. Seeing Chen Daoxian, the color of amazement in the eyes of Tianyinzong's sect master disappeared in a flash. It has only been a few years, and the other party has actually broken through to the nascent soul stage. At this moment, Sect Master Zhou of Tianyinzong couldn't help but think of the warning words that Yi Tianqi said to their 3 major sections. This child is the biggest worry of all sections. It's a pity this subclimate has become. The sect master of Tianyinzong sighed inwardly, but his face did not show at all. Instead, he showed a warm and hospitable look. Coupled with his image of immortal style and bones, he looks like a master of Taoism. Fellow Taoist Chen is too polite. The sect master of Tianyinzong cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Last time we joined forces to break the ambition of the Xianqing Dao Alliance. Speaking of which, the two of us can be regarded as a comrade-in-arms friendship." In addition, Qianyuan Jianzong has always been on good terms with my Tianyinzong, so fellow Taoists must not be separated from this old man. Sect Master Zhou said that it was Chun who was outside. The two chatted and smiled at each other. As for the fact that the opponent sold his teammates in battle, Chen Daoxian thought it had never happened and never mentioned it. And the sect master of Tianyinzong also showed that it was as if the two really joined forces to defeat the enemy back then, and he almost didn't hang up with Chen Daoxian and reiterated their comrade-in-arms relationship. Thousand Array Immortal City, in an immortal mansion. The guest of honor is seated. Chen Daoxian didn't care about greetings and asked directly, "Zhou sect master, this trip to Wuji Xianmen is the first time for Chen to go to a place worth noting." Heard. The sect master of Tianyinzong pondered for a moment, then said, "Wuji Xianmen is the first sect in the Phoenix Meteor Realm, occupying the most vast territory in the central province of Xianyun Continent. Under his command there are many immortal kingdoms, and there are countless high-level monks. If it weren't for the fact that Wuji Xianmen didn't have the Heavenly Venerate, I'm afraid it would be one of the most powerful forces in Heavenly Venerate City." Hearing these words, Chen Daoxian suddenly showed a surprised expression. Originally in his heart, no matter how powerful Wuji Xianmen was, it was only a first-class sect in Fengyun realm. But listening to Tianyinzong's sect master, it seems that this Wuji Xianmen is no less powerful than any top power except that there is no Tianzuan in charge. The reason why the other party was not classified as a top-level force was just the lack of a heavenly venerate transcending tribulation. Seeing the doubts on Chen Daoxian's face, the sect master of Tianyinzong continued, "Because the Wuji Xianmen holds the only space teleportation formation in the Phoenix Meteor Realm that connects the Phoenix Meteor Realm and the two realms abyss. Therefore, the number of monks who go to Wuji Xianmen every day is extremely large, and among these monks, the ones with the lowest cultivation base are probably not under the nascent soul stage." Chen Daoxian had expected this. In the Phoenix Meteor Realm, those who dare to take the initiative to go to Liangjiuan must at least have the cultivation base of nascent soul. Otherwise, in the battlefield outside the territory, it is very likely that they will become cannon fodder. Even an ordinary nascent soul cultivator is nothing more than an advanced cannon fodder on the battlefield outside the two realms abyss. My Tianyinzong and Wuji Xianmen are connected to this space teleportation formation. Speaking of which, it was a patriarch of the sect who went to Liangjiuan and established it with Wuji Xianmen. Seemingly remembering something, Sect Master Zhou stroked his beard lightly and said with a smile, "When the Qianyuan Sword sect rushed to aid Liangjiuan, it was also our Tianyinzong space teleportation formation, but it's a pity." The sect master of Tianyinzong shook his head. Cough, cough. Seeing that the sect master of Tianyinzong was making a good impression again, Chen Daoxian couldn't help coughing. Sect Master Zhou immediately reacted and laughed loudly. Alas, when people are old, they like to recall the past years. After speaking, Sect Master Zhou said again, "Chen Daoyu goes to Wuji Xianmen, and there are not many things that need to be paid attention to. Cultivator, going back and forth between Fengyun Realm and Liangjiuan. Therefore, Wuji Xianmen's management of external monks is very loose. As long as fellow Daoist Chen does not take the initiative to cause trouble, there will be basically no problems." Hearing these words, Chen Daoxian nodded slightly. He was worried that there were some taboos in this promise immortal sect and violated other people's taboos on other people's territory. This was no joke. Chen Daoxian is not yet arrogant enough to dare to spread wildness on the site of the first sect of Fengyun Realm. After talking about Wuji Xianmen, the sect master of Tianyinzong looked at Chen Daoxian and said sincerely, "Daoyu Chen, this old man has an unkind request. Please don't refuse." Heard. Chen Daoxian was non-committal, just quietly waiting for the next chapter of the Tianyinzong sect master. Zhou Zongzhu continued, "I know that after Qianyuan Jianzong defeated Xianqing Dao League, it was already the largest sect in a radius of tens of millions of miles. Now, with the help of Daoyu Chen, it is just around the corner for Qianyuan Jianzong to become a first-class sect. The old man hopes that if Qianyuan Jianzong can really become a first-class sect in the future, Please also help me Tianyinzong for the sake of my two-sex friendship. Chen Daoxian did not expect that this time he simply borrowed from Tianyinzong, but inadvertently got Tianyinzong's surrender. But thinking about it carefully, Tianyinzong must have seen who will be the ruler of this borderland of Xianyan continent in the future. Sect Master Zhou's request was written down by Qin, but for the Qianyuan sword sect, Qin cannot be the master for the time being. When I can make the call in the future, Zhou's request will be fulfilled by Qin. Having said that, Chen Daoxian gave the other party a meaningful look. Seeing this look, the sect master of Tianyinzong immediately understood, and immediately stood up and bowed in response. Then, this old man would like to thank Alliance Master Chen. Sect Master Zhou doesn't need to be too polite. Chen Daoxian helped each other, and immediately, the two looked at each other and smiled. Accidentally obtained Tianyinzong's secret surrender, which Chen Daoxian never expected. Perhaps the sect master of Tianyinzong was stimulated by Chen Daoxian's terrifying talent and wanted to take a gamble with concubine Chen Xue. In short, Chen Daoxian was very satisfied with this trip to Tianyinzong. Although Tianyinzong only secretly surrendered, as long as Chen Daoxian has always shown this amazing talent, no, as long as Chen Daoxian can break through to the Yuanshan stage. The secret surrender of Tianyinzong at this time will turn into a swaggering surrender. There is nothing shameful about finding a second-rate sect as a backer for a second-rate sect. The disciples of Tianyinzong would not have any resistance. On the contrary, in Fengyan realm, many first-class sects simply do not look down on those second- and third-rate cultivation forces. Others are rushing to take refuge, and those first-class sects do not take it seriously. Just like Wuji Xianmen in the Fengyan world, I don't know how many second-rate sects want to take refuge in it. Even, there are many first-class sects who want to take refuge in Wuji Xianmen as their affiliated forces. But the Promise Immortal sect couldn't take it seriously. So far, Wuji Xianmen has clearly recruited no more than 10 affiliated forces. For the most powerful first-class sect in the Fengyan world, there are simply too few affiliated forces. Even if it is the Qianyuan sword sect, there are also the major monster races of Wanxinghai as subsidiary forces. Although the affiliated forces of Qianyuan Jianzong are a bit insignificant, but that is because Qianyuan Jianzong was defeated in Wanxinghai and has been trying hard to accumulate strength. Now Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Daomen have completely defeated each other. If it wasn't for the ban issued by Tianzun City, Qianyuan Jianzong would definitely destroy the Xianqing Dao League in one fell swoop. At that time, the surrounding cultivation forces will all be rushing to join the Qianyuan sword sect. This is the way of survival in the Phoenix Meteor world. There is nothing shameful or shameful. 7017K. Chapter 429. The Phoenix Meteor realm is vast, of which the Xianyan continent is the largest, and it is the center of the world. Xianyan continent is vast, with a radius of hundreds of billions of miles. On the Xianyan continent, there are many sects and families are rampant. Among the countless cultivation forces, Wuji Xianmen is the most powerful. The Wuji Xianmen sits on the fertile soil of the central state of Xianyansu, with a vast territory and countless mortal kingdoms under its command. The surrounding forces, facing the behemoth Wuji Xianmen, all bow their heads and serve as ministers. The Zoman headquarters of Wuji Xianmen was established in a country called Su Kingdom. Compared with the country of Izumo, which is located in the northwest corner, the country of Su does not know how many times more than the former in terms of territory and population. Compared with Su Kingdom, Izumo Kingdom is the smallest country, not worth mentioning. As for the more remote Wanxinghai, in the eyes of the people of Su, it is a wild place overseas, and it should be uninhabited. Kyoto, the capital of Su State. A white figure suddenly appeared from a large space teleportation formation. Walking out of the space teleportation formation, Chen Daoxian waited for the dizziness in his head to gradually disappear. The shock in Chen Daoxian's heart could not be concealed. How far have I teleported here? Chen Daoxian was speechless in his heart. With his accomplishments in the laws of space, He would actually feel dizzy after taking a space teleportation array once, which shows how exaggerated the distance of this space teleportation is. Shaking his head, Chen Daoxian threw the distracting thoughts out of his mind, raised his head, and looked at the scene in front of him. Compared with the immortal city he has seen before, the immortal city in front of him is not too surprising. The only thing that makes Chen Daoxian feel wrong is that he is here, with a sense of restraint all the time, oppressing him. Chen Daoxian frowned, and then secretly started the space law. What a strong forbidden space formation! Chen Daoxian was shocked. Generally speaking, it is understandable to set up a forbidden air formation in Xiancheng, but the forbidden air formation in this immortal city not only prohibits the cultivator from flying, but also prohibits the cultivator from using space teleportation. In other words, in this immortal city, Chen Daoxian could not only fly, but also teleport. For a monk who is used to using teleportation to hurry and escape, this immortal city is simply a nightmare. No wonder he felt uncomfortable. Chen Daoxian just walked out of the range of the space teleportation array. A trail with a bun on his head and a jade hairpin inserted into it trotted towards Chen Daoxian's position. Chen Daoxian looked at it intently, and his heart couldn't help being horrified. Cultivator Jean Dan. In front of this trail, the Taoist age will never exceed 100, and it is actually a real person of Jean Dan. Just when Chen Daoxian was shocked, Xiao Dao had already walked up to Chen Daoxian and respectfully bowed to him, saying, "This true monarch is polite. Pin Dao is a disciple of Wuji Xianmen. I wonder what true monarch ordered." Holding back the shock in his heart, Chen Daoxian said calmly, "You are being polite, fellow Daoist." Chen Daoxian cupped his hands. "This is the first time I have set foot in the Sioux country. I would like to ask my fellow Taoists to introduce me to the customs of the Sioux country." Hear this. There was no change in the little Taoist priest's face. Obviously, for Xiao Dao, who has been in charge of reception work in this teleportation array all the year round, he has seen too many unfamiliar true monarchs. True monarchs like Chen Daoxian, who came to Sioux for the first time, were always there every day. He has long been surprised. "True monarch, are you visiting Sioux country, or going to Liangjiyuan?" Hearing this, Chen Daoxian couldn't help frowning. Is there any difference between the two? That's right, if the true monarch just came to Sioux country to travel, you can find a restaurant or a mortal mansion to stay at will, but if you go to Liangjiyuan, you need to go to the city lord's mansion to register and line up. Registration queue? This is the first time Chen Daoxian has heard this familiar word since his practice in this world. In the last life, check-in queues were very common. But in this world, due to the existence of formations and magical instruments, coupled with the powerful consciousness of monks, they can handle things very quickly, and there is very little time to register and queue. The little Taoist seemed to see the puzzled look on Chen Daoxian's face and continued, "There is only one large space teleportation formation from Sioux country to Liangjiyuan, because every time it is activated, it requires a lot of resources. Therefore, unless there are special circumstances, this teleportation formation will only be activated every 5 years. Now, this teleportation formation has only been activated for 2 years since the last time." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian finally knew why he had to make an appointment in a space teleportation formation. According to this little Taoist priest, the space teleportation formation will be activated once every 5 years. If you don't make an appointment, Chen Daoxian will definitely not be able to sit. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian calmly took out a storage ring, handed it to the little Taoist priest, and said, "Dare to ask friends, what is there to say about this registration queue?" The little Taoist priest took the storage ring handed over by Chen Daoxian, and his consciousness swept away, and a bright smile appeared on the originally indifferent face. There's something to be said about it. The little Taoist smiled and said, "This space teleportation array from Sioux country to Liangjiyuan is said to be registered and queued, but in fact, if Taoist friends really go to queue, I am afraid that they will not be able to line up in this life." "Oh." Chen Daoxian raised his brows. The little Taoist continued, "If you can trust the poor Taoist can help introduce the elders who preside over this space teleportation array, but you must prepare a sum of money in advance. I don't know how much I need to prepare next." Chun Daoxian said indifferently. The little Taoist reached out his hand quietly, gestured with 3 fingers, and said, 300 powers of creation heard. Chun Daoxian took a deep breath. This dog is greedy for talent. It should be killed. This space teleportation formation in Su country is the only space teleportation formation connecting the Phoenix Meteor Realm and the True Demon Realm. There are not many high-level monks from Fengyan Realm who rushed to Liangjiyuan. People from Wuji Xianmen actually dared to fill their own pockets and beat the bones and marrow of these monks who rushed to Liangjiyuan. Such behavior is really disgusting. A small elder who oversees the space teleportation formation is so greedy. Peeking into the spot and seeing the leopard, it can be seen how corrupt the Wuji Xianmen, which is known as the first sect of the Phoenix Meteor Realm, has become corrupted. However, although Chun Daoxian was despised, he couldn't change anything. Half an hour. Chun Daoxian nodded. Then I will trouble fellow Taoists. Good to say. A bright smile appeared on the little Taoist priest's face again. The capital of Su State. In a magnificent palace. A young monk with blue hair hanging down his shoulders and wearing a loose Taoist robe is sitting at the table, holding a jade fold in his hand, and his consciousness is immersed in it, and he is slowly checking it. Beside him, a grizzled, spirited old man stood quietly. Humph! With a cold snort, the bright light formation in the hall swayed violently, as if it would dissipate at any time. The old man's expression didn't change, as if he just snorted, not his young master, but a stranger. Old Wu, you said that these untouchables of Sini religion, how come you can't kill them all? The old man surnamed Wu finally spoke at this time and said, young master has imposed too much tax on Qishui Kingdom, so it is common sense that Sini religion can take this opportunity to confuse the monks of Qishui Kingdom. The old man surnamed Wu did not give face to the young master. He spoke succinctly and pointed to the pain point. Am taxing those untouchables too heavily? Hearing the old man's words, the young cultivator was even more angry. Who do these untouchables rely on to be able to practice peacefully in the Fengyan realm? It's not a big sect like my Wuji Xianmen. If it weren't for us sitting in Liangjiyuan, the real monsters in the real demon world would have been raging in the Fengyan realm long ago, and they would not pay the tax when they wanted to. Hearing this, the old man shut up again. Glancing at the old man, the young cultivator closed the jade folder, rubbed his eyebrows, and said, Old Wu, how are the resources for my trip to Liangjiyuan this time? It is about 145,000 less powerful than the planned resources and 43 points of spirituality, heard. The young cultivator stood up and muttered, the gap is huge. It seems that the formation will be opened after 3 years, and I can't go. The old man surnamed Wu nodded. Liangjiyuan is extremely dangerous. If you are not prepared enough, even with the strength of the young master, there is a risk of falling. It is the right choice to take it easy. Hearing this, the young cultivator shook his head. Unfortunately, if I could borrow a pure yang immortal artifact from the Zhongmen Chuanbao Pavilion, it would be enough to burst into a strength comparable to that of a 5th-layer Taoist in the world. At that time, how can you use such a hard search for resources to create a Taoist bodyguard? Pure yang immortal artifact. Hearing this level of treasure, the old man surnamed Wu shook his head. Since the ancient Mahayana true immortals collectively ascended to the upper realm, the pure yang fairy artifacts left in this realm are basically in a state of only decreasing and not increasing. If you want to borrow immortal tools from Chuanbao Pavilion, unless you can break through to the 5th-layer realm of the world, young master. The 5th floor of the world. Hearing this, the young cultivator shook his head. If I can reach the state, I can directly become the first sequence heir of the sect master, so I don't need to borrow an immortal weapon. The old guys in the sect did not directly send immortals to me to protect the Tao. Hearing these words, the old man surnamed Wu fell silent again. The 5th floor of the world is a hurdle. After the cultivator's Tao realm breaks through to the world realm, he will encounter 2 thresholds. The first threshold is the 3rd level of the world realm. The second threshold is the 5th floor of the world. Generally speaking, The Yuanying cultivator broke through to the Yuanshan stage, and basically the Dao realm was at the level of the first and second layers of the world realm. This is also the realm of the great Dao that ordinary Yuanshan Daojun can achieve. As for the third layer of the world realm, even for Yuanshan Daojun, it is not an easy thing to break through. Once Yuanshan Daojun breaks through to the third floor of the world, he can instantly become the mainstay of Yuanshan Daojun, or the elite. The Yuanshan Daojun on the first and second layers of the world realm, when facing the Daojun on the third floor of the world realm, usually loses after 3 or 5 strokes. The gap between the two is huge. As for the fifth layer Daojun of the world realm, his strength will take a big step forward. Regardless of other external factors, the third-level Daoist of the world realm basically has no room for resistance after encountering the fifth-layer Daoist of the world realm. Capture or kill, it's all in the opponent's mind. In the hall, just when the young monk was talking to the old man surnamed Wu, a female cultivator in the nascent soul stage walked in quickly. Linger. Seeing Yuanying female cultivator, the young cultivator stopped the discussion with Wu Lao, looked at the visitor with a smile, and waved to her. The Yuanying female cultivator named Linger walked quickly to the young cultivator and sat directly on the other's lap, ignoring the existence of the old man next to her. The young cultivator put his arms around the waist of the Yuanying female cultivator, took a deep breath greedily between her hair, and said, "Aren't you retreating? Why did you come to see me?"
Heard.
This female cultivator named Linger had a charming look on her brows. If Chun Daoxian was present, even if he could recognize it, this female cultivator named Linger was actually the same as the Xiling fairy he had rescued in Izumo before, and she also had a mysterious body of Join. With such a treasured body, it is no wonder that this young Daoist loves this Linger so much. "Young master, the slave family has good news to tell you." "Good news?" The young monk put Linger down gently. "What good news?" I saw Linger pursed her lips and smiled. Without speaking, she took out a dark and heavy piece of wood directly from the storage ring. 9 secluded soul tree. The young cultivator and elder Wu looked at each other with a look of surprise in their eyes. But soon, the surprise was hidden by the young monk. He looked at the 9 nether-like soul wood floating in the air and said indifferently, "Fellow Daoist is lucky to be able to live in the 9 nether soul tree with the cultivation base of nascent soul and escape death. Death." The words fall. In the 9 secluded soul tree, a transparent figure suddenly appeared. It was Yi Tianqi, the leader of the Xianqing Dao Alliance who abandoned Yi Yin and fled that day. However, the appearance of the leader of the Xianqing Dao Alliance is a bit miserable now. Not only has the body and Yuanying been lost, but even the soul has suffered irreparable injuries. If he hadn't lived in the 9 nether soul cultivation wood, with his injuries, his soul would have been scattered long ago. Yi Tianqi, the leader of the Xianqing Dao Alliance, meet the seniors. Yi Tianqi respectfully bowed to the young monk. When the young monk saw this, his face was unmoved. He had never even heard of the so-called Xianqing Dao Alliance, but if he wanted to come to a force that could be the leader of a nascent soul cultivator, it was probably just a small second-rate force in some corner of Xianin continent. For the young cultivator, this second-rate force, he only needs to move his mouth. He can send his subordinates to easily crush him, which is not worth mentioning at all. Seeing that the young cultivator was unmoved, Yi Tian was surprised. Reporting to the seniors, "The juniors are here to present treasures to the seniors." "Oh, a gift." The young monk chuckled. "Where's the treasure?" Yi Tianqi felt a chill in his heart and said bravely, "The treasure is not on me, but I know where the treasure is. With your strength, senior, it is easy to get the treasure. Hear this." The young cultivator lacked interest, with a trace of dissatisfaction on his face, looked at Linger and said, "Is this the trash you introduced?" Hearing this, Linger immediately shook the young monk's arm and said coquettishly, "Young master, calm down." Linger just saw that this person could actually travel from the battlefield outside the territory and return to the Fengyun realm, so she was curious to bring him over to the young master. Discerned. What? Who knew that the young cultivator was shocked when he heard this? He turned his head sharply and looked at Yi Tianqi. Is what she said true? You drove the world across the battlefield outside the territory, and you haven't died yet? Thinking of his tragic experience during this period, Yi Tianqi nodded and said bitterly, yes, this junior is the one who controls the world, walks through the battlefield outside the territory, and then takes the space teleportation array to return to the Phoenix meteor realm. Sharp. The young monk gave him a thumbs up. 7,017K. Chapter 430. Boom. While the two were talking, a roar suddenly sounded in the capital of Su Kingdom, and the entire immortal city trembled. Inside the hall, the young monk frowned. After a short period of time, a monk wearing black armor and a black mask suddenly appeared in the hall. Seeing the young cultivator in the golden robe, the black-armored cultivator immediately knelt on the ground and lowered his head. Young master. Xianyi, what's going on? It's a new dog. The black-armored monk lowered his head. It's these scumbags again. The young cultivator became a little excited when he heard the words Siniajao. He waved his hand suddenly. Find them, and then kill all these bastards. Yes. After the black-armored cultivator finished speaking, his figure suddenly disappeared in the hall. On the side, Yi Tianqi looked at the scene in front of him, and his heart suddenly became even hotter. A dignified Yuanshan Daojun actually gave this golden-robed young cultivator such a big gift. It can be seen that this young cultivator's status in Wuji Xianmen is much higher than what Linger, the female cultivator who introduced him, said. Thinking of this, Yi Tianqi's eyes burst into an unprecedented light. Qianyuan sword sect. Feichen Snow. You are waiting. Yi Tianqi roared wildly in his heart. The capital of Su State. After leaving a communication talisman with Jindan Shaodao of Wuji Xianmen, Chen Daoxian wandered around the fairy city alone. As the largest of the many kingdoms under the jurisdiction of Wuji Xianmen, Su Kingdom not only has a vast territory, but its internal atmosphere is much more open than Wanxinghai. Strolling in the capital of Su State, Chen Daoxian saw that the women were dressed more openly than Wanxinghai. Almost all the women were wearing a layer of translucent gauze, exposing large areas of snow-white skin. Chen Daoxian was walking on the street, and there were even daring women. Seeing his handsome appearance, he secretly greeted him. Walked around for about an hour. Chen Daoxian found an inn responsible for the rental of Dongfu under the recommendation of a Zifu cultivator. Senior, this is Phone Lion, one of the 3 largest inns in the capital of Su country. As he said that, the Zifu cultivator who led the way suddenly lowered his voice and whispered, the owner of Phone Lion is the Situ family of the Su country. The Situ family is strong and absolutely trustworthy. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian nodded. He was born in Wanxinghai outside Xianyan continent. He had heard of Wuji Xianmen, but he had never heard of the so-called Situ family. In fact, it is not surprising that Xianyan continent is incomparably vast, let alone a cultivator family. It is a first-class sect, and there are few people who have heard of it. Generally speaking, the so-called first-class forces only have a certain influence near their sphere of influence. Out of its sphere of influence, who knows who you are? Not to mention a small immortal family in Su country. Seeing the expression on Chen Daoxuan's face, he didn't care. The cultivator of Zifu hurriedly said in Chen Daoxuan's ear, Senior, this ancestor of the Situ family is a Daoist Yuanshan Daojun on the 5th floor of the world. Behind it, there is the great backer of Wuji Xianmen, not to mention in Su country, even in the entire Zhongzhou, no one dares to provoke, Senior, you. These remarks, for the Zifu cultivator in front of him, are also sincere words. It can be said that as a Xiongdao, this Zifu cultivator is already very qualified. Chen Daoxian is not someone who doesn't know what is good or bad. The cultivator of the Zifu before him can kindly remind him. Naturally, he is afraid that Chen Daoxian does not know the seriousness and offends the Situ family. You must know that every year there are monks from the outside world who travel to the country of Su, and after offending the powerful of the country of Su, they eventually lead to the example of no bones left. Thank you for reminding me. Chun Daoxian bowed his hands to the Zifu cultivator in front of him. It was probably the first time that the Zifu cultivator was treated so politely by a true monarch nascent soul. He immediately flushed with excitement and kept smirking. It's easy to talk. Senior is too polite. Saying that, the Zifu cultivator turned his body and stretched out his right hand towards Chun Daoxian. Senior, please. Chun Daoxian nodded. The two walked into the inn one after the other. Don't look at Fenglian's small area in the capital of Su Kingdom, but entering the interior, Chun Daoxian found that the inside of this inn is actually a cave world with a large area. As soon as they entered the inn, a monk in a lavender costume flew towards Chun Daoxian and the two. Obviously, this monk is the guy at the inn. Senior, welcome to Fenglian. The visitor stopped in front of Chun Daoxian and then saluted Chun Daoxian respectfully. Chun Daoxian swept his consciousness at will and found that the other party's cultivation had actually reached the Purple Palace period. It is unimaginable in Wanshanghai that a dignified cultivator of Zifu actually works as a clerk in an inn. Although he was extremely surprised in his heart, Chun Daoxian showed no signs of strangeness on the surface. Senior, do you want to rent the cave or? Chun Daoxian said concisely. Rent a cave. Hearing that Chun Daoxian was going to rent the cave, the Fenglian guy's face became even more flattering. He bowed and said, Senior, the cave in my Fenglian is divided into 5 grades. The first gear is called Lingyuan's Secret Realm. In addition to abundant spiritual energy, this Lingyuan's Secret Realm also has a spiritual well that can temper Dao soldiers. This spiritual well is incredible. It is rumored that every 100 years, a drop of spirituality is born. It is a rare treasure. Hearing the buddy brag about the secret realm of Lingyuan, the guide of Zifu, who led Chun Daoxian to look for the inn, was a little blind and interrupted on the spot. Could it be that fellow Taoist bullied my parents to come to Su country for the first time? Whether the spiritual well of the spiritual source secret realm can give birth to spirituality, do you really think we don't know? Cough this. The Zifu period guy in front of him immediately felt a little embarrassed. He originally thought that he would meet a foreigner who didn't understand the market, but he did not expect to be 2 regular customers. Seeing that the 2 were regular customers, the buddy immediately put away the attitude of slaughtering customers and said, Of course, the Lingyuan secret realm is good, but the rental price is also very high, and the annual rent is as high as 100 drops of the power of good fortune. In addition, the mysterious water secret realm in the second stage of my Fenglian is more suitable for the cultivation of the senior's nascent soul. Hearing this, Chun Daoxian was shocked. He said calmly, Can you see my cultivation? Senior is joking. Of course the junior can't see the senior's cultivation. The Zifu period guy handed over his hands. It's just that the first time senior stepped into my inn, Fengling informed the next senior about his cultivation. Fengling. Chun Daoxian secretly memorized this new term. Seemingly seeing Chun Daoxian's doubts, the Zifu guide on the side hurriedly said, Fengling is the Taoist soldier in Fenglian. This is the second time Chun Daoxian has heard the word Daobing, and he can't help but feel even more puzzled. But now that he is new here and he doesn't know everything, he plans to settle down first, and then get to know everything. What's the price of mysterious water secret realm? Senior, the concentration of spiritual energy in the mysterious water secret realm is no less than that of the spiritual source secret realm. The only difference is that there is no spiritual well for tempering the Taoist soldiers, so only 10 drops of the power of good fortune can be rented for a year. 10 drops of the power of creation. Even with Chun Daoxian's wealth, he couldn't help but be speechless at this price. The Fenglian in the capital city of Su country does not use spiritual stones to calculate the charges, but directly uses the power of good fortune. It is really arrogant. If Chun Daoxian had not prepared before going out, he would not necessarily be able to live in such an inn. Chun Daoxian decisively took out a jade bottle from the storage ring, threw it at random, and said, I rent it for 4 years, and here are 40 drops of the power of creation. Hearing this, the Zifu period guy in front of him didn't know that Chun Daoxian's trip was to go to Liangjiuan. The expression on his face could not help but become more respectful. After taking the jade bottle, the Zifu guy handed another jade token to Chen Daoxian, saying, "This is the jade talisman that controls the mysterious realm of Xianshui. Please keep it, senior." Chen Daoxian took the jade talisman. The purple mansion continued, "Senior, please come with me." After that, he led the way for Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian followed with the guide.
Soon,
The three of them came to a small cave. The guy at phone line turned his head, looked at Chen Daoxian and the two, and said, "This is the mysterious realm of Xianshui, so the junior will not disturb the senior to rest." Having said that, he cupped his hands towards Chen Daoxian and then turned into a flash of light and left. Chen Daoxian watched the other party leave, turned his head, with a faint smile on his face, glanced at the guide he randomly invited, and said, "Fellow Daoist would like to come in for a chat." Along the way, this Sifu period guide worked so hard for so long, just for Chen Daoxuan's words. He immediately nodded and said, "Yes, the junior is willing." Seeing this, Chen Daoxian nodded, manipulated the jade talisman to open the formation of the mysterious realm of Xianshui, and then stepped in first. The guide of Zifuki did not dare to delay. He gritted his teeth and walked in after him. Silently following behind Chen Daoxian, the Zifu period guide said nothing. Chen Daoxian did not speak, but just looked at the arrangement in the mysterious territory of Xianshui. The internal space of this mysterious realm is quite large. Chen Daoxian estimates that it is even larger than his fairy mansion on Shuanghu Island, covering an area of more than hundreds of thousands of square meters. More importantly, the concentration of spiritual energy in this mysterious secret territory is very abundant, although there is no spiritual veins here. However, Chen Daoxian could sense that there has been aura constantly replenishing it from the outside world, so that the concentration of aura here is almost comparable to that of the fifth-order spiritual meridian, which is completely enough for a nascent soul cultivator to practice. After visiting the mysterious realm of Xianshui, Chen Daoxian found a palace in the secret territory and pushed the door in. The interior decoration of the palace is complete and luxurious. However, Chen Daoxian is not someone who attaches great importance to enjoyment, and he turns a blind eye to all these things. Casually walked to a chair in the hall and sat down. Chen Daoxian looked at the Zifu cultivator standing in front of him, and this was the first time he took a serious look at the other party. The cultivator of the purple mansion in front of him was wearing a gray and linen shirt, showing off his muscular arms, and looking at his face, he looked like a guy in his 20s. However, cultivators cannot judge their age by their appearance, and Chen Daoxian knows this. The Zifu cultivator in front of him has a young face, and there are two possibilities. One is that the other party established the foundation earlier, and has the skills to reside there. The second is that the other party has taken magic pills such as Zhuyan pill. But Chen Daoxian prefers the first one because he just used his spiritual sense to quietly check the other party's spiritual roots, and he found that the Zifu cultivator in front of him was actually a Tianling Gen cultivator. Although Tianlingen cultivator is slightly inferior to some cultivators with special spiritual bodies. But looking at all the cultivators, they are also top-notch. A Tianling root cultivator, if the resources are sufficient, the nascent soul stage would not dare to say, and there is still a certain degree of confidence in breaking through the golden core stage. As for the nascent soul stage and the nascent soul stage in the future, it is basically not determined by the quality of the spiritual root alone, but to a greater extent, it depends on various factors such as the cultivator's chance, comprehension, and xinqing. At most, Lingzhen can only help cultivators to reach the Purple Palace period, and the further back they go, the less influence Lingzhen has on cultivators. For Chen Daoxian today, how does the speed of refining spiritual energy in a mere area affect him? With Chen Daoxuan's Dao realm, if he doesn't consider erysipelas, he can even eat the elixir as a meal. This kind of cultivation condition also considers what spiritual roots are not spiritual roots. Even Chen Daoxian disliked the fact that ordinary spiritual pills were too slow to improve their cultivation. This time, He went to Liang Jiyuan to find an alchemist who could refine Xingyuan pills and help him refine them. As long as he takes the Saint Yuan Dan with his Dao realm, he can instantly raise his cultivation base to the peak of Yuaning. For Chen Daoxian, what is the significance of the so-called spiritual roots? Being scrutinized by a powerful nascent soul cultivator like Chen Daoxian, the Zifu cultivator in front of him was under great pressure, and before he knew it, sweat slipped down his temples. Half an hour. Chen Daoxian finally said, "What's your name?" Hearing this, the young and sturdy cultivator of Zifu heaved a sigh of relief, bowed and said, "I tell the seniors, the junior's surname is Wu, and his name is Mingxiu." "Wu Mingxiu," Chen Daoxian nodded. "Come on the way today. You reminded me repeatedly, not just for that little guide fee, right?" Senior Ming Jian. The Zifu cultivator named Wu Mingxiu immediately knelt down and kowtowed. Junior asked Senior to bring Junior to Liang Jiyuan. This time, Chen Daoxian was completely shocked. "Are you going to the Two Realms?" Chen Daoxian frowned. A place like Liang Jiyuan, even for him, is an extremely dangerous place. The Zifu cultivator in front of him is only in the middle stage of Zifu, and his strength is not even comparable to Qin Fuxing. What is the difference between him going to Liang Jiyuan and seeking his own death?
Da-da.
Chen Daoxian tapped the table lightly and said slowly, "Give me a reason." "Rescue." Wu Mingxiu raised his head. "The younger generation needs a treasure in the ruins of the true immortal world to save the life of the younger generation's beloved." Facing Chen Daoxian's gaze, Wu Mingxiu looked at him, without giving up. In this situation, anyone who sees it can't help but give a thumbs up to this most affectionate man. But Chen Daoxian didn't believe it at all. As for the reason, this Wu Mingxiu's actions are too reckless, but judging from his performance along the way, this person is also a very delicate person. Such a contradictory move made Chen Daoxian have to doubt. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian glanced at the other party, with his divine sense again, and it was indeed the middle period of Zifu. Da-da-da. Chen Daoxian tapped on the table again and pondered. 7,017K. Chapter 431. Going to Liang Jiyuan is expensive. Are you sure you can afford it? Chen Daoxian looked at the Zifu period monk named Wu Mingxiu in front of him and said slowly, "Senior." Wu Mingxiu opened his mouth and was about to speak. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the mysterious realm of Xianshui trembled violently. What happened? Chen Daoxian stood up abruptly. He ignored Wu Mingxiu, and with a flash, he rushed out of the mysterious realm of Xianshui. As soon as he flew out of the mysterious realm of Xianshui, Chen Daoxian discovered the Zifu period guy who had entertained him before. The Zifuki guy who was appeasing the guests of Fenglai and saw Chen Daoxian and immediately greeted Chen Daoxian. He bowed and saluted. The inn's poor hospitality has surprised the seniors. Chen Daoxian didn't mean to blame the other party, but just asked, "What's going on? Is the capital of Su country still so unstable?" Although the outbreak just lasted only for a moment, Chen Daoxian clearly felt that it was a Yuanshan Daojun who shot. Normally, Yuanshan Daojun took action and completely destroyed an immortal city. The reason why the capital of Su Kingdom is so strong is due to the terrifying forbidden air formation in this immortal city. This access control air formation not only limits the speed of the cultivators flying and the ability to perform space teleportation, but also limits the cultivator's attack power. As long as the cultivator's attack power does not exceed the upper limit of the forbidden space, it will not cause destructive damage to this immortal city. Not to mention directly blowing up an immortal city, like Chen Daoxian fought against the palace master Yue of Xianqing Dao League before. This kind of thing is almost impossible to happen in the capital of Su country. But in any case, a primordial spirit Daojun directly shot in the capital of Su Kingdom, which is undoubtedly a great challenge to Wuji Xianmen. Who has such courage? The Zifuki guy at Fenglai heard Chen Daoxian's question and quickly replied, "Senior, it was the rebels of Sini religion who made trouble in the city and disturbed the senior." New doctrine. Seeing the doubts on Chen Daoxian's face, Zafuki's clerk explained. Sini religion is an evil organization spontaneously organized by scattered cultivators within the jurisdiction of Wuji Xianmen. The purpose of this evil organization is to overthrow the rule of Wuji Xianmen and let the scattered cultivators in the whole central state equally share the spiritual veins and resources of Wuji Xianmen. Isn't this crazy? With that said, a look of disdain appeared on the face of this Sifu period guy. Rebels. A clear look appeared on Chen Daoxuan's face. Although it took less than a day to come to the capital of Su Kingdom, Chen Daoxian could feel that the degree of oppression of the scattered cultivators here was even greater than that of Wan Xinghai. As a traveler, when Chen Daoxian didn't have the golden scriptures, he felt that the path of cultivation was dark. Not to mention other loose repairs. Their situation will only be more difficult than Chen Daoxian. In this world, scattered cultivators accounted for more than 90%, which was the largest group of cultivators. However, the resources that the loose cultivators have are the least. In the long run, the conflict broke out, and Chen Daoxian was not surprised at all. However, in Chen Daoxuan's view, the possibility that this new doctrine will succeed is infinitely close to zero. The reason is simple. Fengyan world is a world of immortal cultivation. In other words, it is a world where great power is attributed to itself. The more great power is attributed to oneself, the more solidified the class of the world is, which is determined by human nature. In the Phoenix meteor world, sects and clans occupy most of the resources. And because it occupies most of the resources, the sect and family can cultivate many more top-level powerhouses than the loose cultivator group. In the face of these top powerhouses, what do loose cultivators do to confront them? It's not that there are no strong people in the loose cultivators, but compared to the sect and the immortal family, the proportion of top strong people born in the loose cultivators is too low. And once a top powerhouse is born, it will be bribed by some sects and families with positions such as Elder Kaching. Without these top powerhouses from loose cultivators who are the masters of the loose cultivators are like a piece of loose sand. No matter how many they are, they cannot pose any threat to the sect and the cultivator family. Seeing the Zifu period guy in front of him spitting out the new doctrine, Chen Daoxian suddenly said, "Which lifetime brother are you from the Sidu family?" Hearing this, Zafuki's face suddenly froze, and then a touch of embarrassment appeared on his face. Junior. The junior is not a member of the Sidu family yet, no. However, the junior is now pursuing a young lady from the Sidu family, and I believe that he will soon be able to enter the gate of the Sidu family. The Zifu period guy is plausible. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian turned his head away and stopped looking at him. The Zifu period guy also seemed to feel that he was being looked down upon, bowed his head and bowed his hands to Chen Daoxian and said in a loud voice, "Senior, if you have something to do with this junior, you will retire first." After that, it turned into a flash of light and disappeared in front of Chen Daoxian. Glancing at the back of this Zifu period guy who didn't even know his name, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but sigh deeply. He suddenly remembered a sentence from a previous life. Whenever a slave stood up to oppose slavery, the first one to stand up against it was not the slave owner, but the slave. The riots come quickly and subside quickly. Soon, this immortal city returned to calm, as if the attack just now was not initiated by Yuanshan Daojun, but a temporary intention of a thief. Chen Daoxian didn't know what the fate of the Yuanshan Daojun would be, but he couldn't and shouldn't manage these things. Return to the mysterious water realm. Entering the hall of the secret realm, Chen Daoxian found that Wu Mingxiu was still kneeling in the hall, as if the attack just now had nothing to do with him. Chen Daoxian said thoughtfully, "Get up first." There was a hint of hesitation on Wu Mingxiu's tall nose and wide mouth, but soon, he stood up. It's just that his attitude is still firm, and he looks like Chen Daoxian doesn't agree, and he won't leave. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian smiled and said, "You are so courageous. How dare you use this attitude to force a true monarch nascent soul who is 2 realms higher than you? Aren't you afraid of death?" Who knows? Wu Mingxiu raised his head and said, if I can't go to Liangjiyuan and find treasures to save my Taoist companion's life, what's the point of living alone? You are infatuated. Chen Daoxian shook his head, but as I said before, going to Liangjiyuan costs a lot of money. You can't afford it. You can't expect me to pay for it for you, right? Hearing this, Wu Mingxiu gritted his teeth, turned his heart, took out a jade talisman from the storage ring, and handed it to Chen Daoxian. Senior, please see, this is a treasure I accidentally acquired, called the Heavenly Secret Talisman, but as everyone knows, before the other party can finish his words, Chen Daoxian took this talisman into his hand. Another celestial talisman. Chen Daoxian already had a Heavenly Secret Talisman in his hand, but the Heavenly Secret Talisman, which was originally damaged, was repaired by him with a lot of power of creation. Now, he actually found a second Heavenly Secret Talisman. According to the information revealed by the Heavenly Secret Talisman, this is one of the components of a seventh-order magic weapon. Chen Daoxian didn't even know how many pieces of this complete seventh-order magic weapon were. He only knew that this seventh-order magic weapon was left by Venerable Tianji of the Taiyin sect, and it was very precious. Chen Daoxian looked at the Heavenly Secret Talisman in his hand, and the light in his eyes was uncertain. A long time. He then nodded slowly to the cultivator named Wu Xiaoming and said, okay, the deal. Thank you, senior. Wu Xiaoming immediately showed an ecstatic expression. In the past 3 years, you have been practicing in the side hall, and you are not allowed to go out for no reason. Also, when I practice, I hate outsiders to disturb me. If there is no important matter, you must not disturb me. Junior respectfully abides by the elder's law. Wu Xiaoming nodded. He waved his hand and asked the other party to step back. In the hall, only Chen Daoxian was left. Gently rubbing the Heavenly Secret Talisman in his hand, Chen Daoxian dared to conclude that there was definitely something wrong with this cultivator named Wu Xiaoming. Previously, Chen Daoxian was looking for a guide at random, which was also planned by the other party, and took the initiative to come together. Perhaps, the moment Chen Daoxian stepped into the capital of Su Kingdom, he was already targeted by the other party. But why was the other party staring at him? Suddenly, Chen Daoxian set his eyes on this secret talisman again, and gradually got the answer in his heart. Interesting. A smile appeared on the corner of Chen Daoxian's mouth. It'll go out, and you'll practice here for the time being. After saying that, Chen Daoxian ignored Wu Xiaoming's reaction, and with a flash of light, he flew out of the mysterious realm of Xianshui.
Get out of the secret realm.
Chen Daoxian found the Zifu period guy who was in charge of receiving him. Perhaps it was because Chen Daoxian had despised him before, and seeing Chen Daoxian again, this Zifu period guy's face was a little unsightly. It's just because of Chen Daoxian's cultivation that this Zifu period guy didn't dare to attack. He bowed his body and said, I've seen senior. Chen Daoxian didn't care about the other party's face, and asked, let me ask you, is there a place that sells books and jade slips in the cities? Books. The Zifu period guy was slightly taken aback. Does the senior want to buy a practice method? If you want to buy a practice method, there is the largest shop in the city called Chuanbao Pavilion. Seniors can go there and have a look. Thank you. After Chen Daoxian said that, he threw a bottle of spirit pills and then left the phone line with the gratitude of the other party. Walking out of the phone line, Chen Daoxian walked in the direction of the Chuanbao Pavilion that the man said. The capital of Su State occupies a very large area. Due to the restrictions of the Forbidden Air Formation, flying is not allowed in the city, and all cultivators have to rely on a magic weapon called the escape shuttle to travel. According to the tip of the staff at Phone Lai and before leaving, Chen Daoxian held the Formation Jade Talisman in the mysterious realm of Xianshui and summoned an escape shuttle. Less than half a cup of tea, an empty shuttle appeared in front of Chen Daoxian. From the outside, it seems that this escape shuttle can only accommodate one person. But as Chen Daoxian opened the hatch of the escape shuttle and stepped into it, he found that the space inside was very spacious, not to mention one person, even more than 100 people. Chen Daoxian was not surprised by the use of space magic. This level of magic, let alone Wuji Xianmen, even if the Chun family's Magical Research Institute wants to develop a similar one, it will not take too much. The only thing that shocked Chen Daoxian was that after the escaping shuttle flew over the capital of Su Country, looking around, countless escaping shuttles were flying over the capital of Su Country. But the strange thing is that so many flying instruments were crowded over the capital of Su Kingdom, but there was no collision incident. No wonder the capital of Su Country has to set up a no-air formation. If there is no no-air formation, so many cultivators will be crowded together and fly in the light. It is estimated that every day the light hits, I don't know how many times it will happen. Chen Daoxian sat in the escape shuttle and muttered, "Don't think that if the cultivator has spiritual consciousness, there will be no air disaster." There were some immortal cities in Wanxinghai that did not set up a forbidden air formation. As a result, a large-scale battle was triggered because of the collision of the cultivators. So much so that the immortal city was finally turned into ruins. Since then, the major immortal cities in Wanxinghai will basically have forbidden space formations, and the difference is only in the strength of forbidden formations. It's just that Chen Daoxian has never seen a forbidden air formation like Zhus capital city, which prohibits all cultivators from flying. Generally speaking, Xiancheng's air forbidden formations prohibit low-level monks from flying in the sky, but they turn a blind eye to the escape of high-level monks. At this point, Su Gua is equally treated. And in Wanxinghai, after the cultivator was banned from flying, most of the immortal cities would use cloud-treading beasts to travel. The cloud-treading beast is a first-order monster raised by monks. Its temperament is gentle and its endurance is extremely strong, and it is extremely stable when it carries the vehicle. Therefore, it is widely praised by monk Wanxinghai. But in the capital of Su State, Chen Daoxian didn't even see the shadow of a beast car that treads clouds. In this city before, he could only see densely packed pedestrians and a dazzling array of shops on both sides of the street. As for the means of transportation, Chen Daoxian didn't see a single one. But now he saw it. The flying shuttle in the high altitude of the capital city of Feishu will disappear after taking off, so that the pedestrians below will not feel any depression. However, Chen Daoxian flew high in the sky on the escaping shuttle, but he could see countless escaping shuttles flying along the dense and empty route. See the scene. If he ignores the classical architectural style of the capital of the Su Kingdom and the simple appearance of the escaping shuttle, Chen Daoxian suspects that he has come to a sci-fi city. One escaping shuttle is not worth mentioning, but with so many escaping shuttles, it can safely shuttle over the fairy city and send each cultivator to the designated place. The strength of this refining tool. Chen Daoxian shook his head. He knew in his heart that even if the Chen family's Magical Instrument Research Institute and the Qianyuan Jianzong's Artifact Refining Hall joined forces, it would be far from being able to do it. If you use sci-fi rhetoric, this scene is completely intelligent. But Chen Daoxian was in the world of cultivation, so he didn't know how to describe the scene in front of him. Thoughts are surging. Dan Kong Shua soon took Chen Daoxian to the destination of his trip, Chuanbao Pavilion. Rumor has it that the Chuanbao Pavilion in the capital of Su Kingdom was opened by Wuji Xianmen. There are countless treasures in it, and even the legendary Pure Yang immortal artifact can be bought in the Chuanbao Pavilion, as long as you can afford the price. Chen Daoxian scoffed at this. In his opinion, no matter how prosperous the Chuanbao Pavilion is, it will not sell the Pure Yang immortal artifact. You must know that the Pure Yang fairy artifact that survived in the Phoenix meteor realm was all left by the Mahayana true immortals who flew up to the upper realm in the ancient times. These immortal artifacts will only decrease, and will not increase again. It can be said that one less is used. Such a precious treasure, can Chuanbao Pavilion be willing to sell it? It's just a gimmick. 7017K, you're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.